Oh, sweet whispers.
Sweet nothings. No, please don't. I'm leaving. I don't want to do this anymore.
Peace.
We're out and we're done.
Xbox Joy, they do look great. I agree. Look fantastic. All right, so let's just go ahead and roll out these intros and tell everybody what you're here for, and then we'll get this show popping.
I say we start in the top left corner.
That's not me, so that's great.
I don't know how to do this. Can we? Let's go to LovelyShimi. She goes first, and then I'll go after her.
Oh, all right. Since I am seasoned,
you got the liquid courage over there.
Enough of it. All right. Hi, my name is LovelyShimi, and I've got a coconut. I've been streaming on Twitch for about 8 years now. I'm primarily a physical game streamer, like dancing and other things like makes you sweat and stuff. I first started streaming because I wanted to be a fighting game commentator, and those dreams haven't really come to fruition yet. Oh, and this is my dog Moose. Every time I start to talk, he thinks I'm talking about him. So everybody say hi to Moose.
Hi, Moose.
Hi.
Okay, what else do I say? Like, that's basically everything about me. I just dance all the time. You guys see me dancing everywhere. Except in real life, that doesn't happen. Let's see. Do I read from this list of questions?
No, just talk about yourself.
Oh.
What you want us to know about you.
I'm incredibly shy. And I don't do well being put on the spot, as you guys can tell. I like to play a variety of games. Sandbox is one of my favorite time wasters because there's really nothing, like there's not a big story so that months can go by and I can just turn it back on and I'll be like, oh, this is where I left off. What else about me? I don't know. I was thinking of something weird that nobody knows about me, but you guys basically know everything about me.
Your hand sign for pine nuts.
Pine nuts.
Instead of these nuts.
Instead of these. Yeah. Yeah. So that's it.
Okay. I'll take it. I'll take it off
ask.
of you. We'll go in a crisscross. I'll go next. So hi, I'm Danny, aka Miss DJM. I have been streaming off and on for 8 years, and kind of like Shimi, I originally started playing a lot of Dance Central. I love Dance Central like a whole lot. But originally it was more for just charity, and I started streaming for Extra Life in 2011, and I originally had a Justin TV account, which I think I really, really, really miss that, specifically for the feature where they used to have password protection on their channels. So only certain people can come and watch you if they have the password. But yeah, and I've picked up streaming a whole lot more regularly just because, not just for charity, about 2, maybe 3 years ago. I'm centered more around indie games, but it's kind of just like what I feel like playing for the day. And recently I started doing VR mixed reality streams and expanding into that because I just want to be active more. I think just that's where I originally started with my streams, and I kind of just stopped doing it because Dance Central stopped coming out. But let's see. I'm Filipino and Chinese. I'm based out in Hawaii. I spent half of my life living in Southern California and the other half here. But I was born in Hawaii. And what else? Yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay. And I am a co-host of a podcast called The Show Radio and a community manager for an all-female streaming community called Girl Streamers. So.
Oh, cool. I just joined that.
Oh, yeah. Hi. So, that's about me.
Okay, who next?
I'm
I'll
gonna
go.
say Gongjulee because you're the biggest camera on my screen.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're front and center.
You are the
Okay.
center.
Well, hi. No, okay. Hi, my name is Gongjulee. I'm half Korean, half Black. I'm a variety streamer, and I've been streaming for about almost 2 years. So I'm still feel relatively new against you wise veterans. But I started streaming just for the fact I used it to kind of de-stress myself from like the monotony of like work and sleep. So I was like a really big workaholic, and I had like no social life. So I went into a really dark place. And then I got a suggestion for some of my friends to just start streaming, since playing video games helped me kind of de-stress, and I talk while I play video games. So they're like, it'll look less weird when I see you play video games when you're talking to other people that are actually there. So ultimately, I started streaming so I could de-stress from work and make some new friends. And I think I've been really successful with that because I met so many wonderful people on this platform, and it is a great de-stressor. So usually on my streams, I have one or two elements, like I'm swearing like a sailor, or I'm drinking, and I'm just playing whatever game comes to mind. So that's usually my type of stream. And I stream really late because I'm on the West Coast. But that's what I am. Mildly entertaining. So that's me, Gongjulee. Ah.
That coffee did you well.
Yeah, I love coffee. It's my friend. Coffee is life.
All right, so I guess it's my turn. So there was this thing that people were posting on Twitter the other day that was like 30 things you can immediately talk about for 30 minutes without any prep, and one of them is not me. So that out of the way, my name is Chanzlyn, or Chance. My streaming channel is actually Idjits Play, and that name came from Supernatural. There's a character on there named Bobby, and he would affectionately call the two guys on there his Idjits, and I'm just like, oh, that's so precious and dumb. And so my brother and I decided to start streaming. We technically have had this channel for like 7 years, but I never really stuck to it. I would stream for like 2 days and then never touch it for like a year. And then I think about a year and a half ago, we started streaming more regularly, but we took a 4-month break because I just went into this whole like depression spiral, and it became a whole thing. But I'm getting better. We're on track now. But aside from that, my brother and I, we focus mostly on co-op games, multiplayer games, because we just like to hang out. He and I have been pretty much best friends since the day he was born. He is like 4 years younger than me. But if he's not there, then I'm usually streaming on my own, and we play everything. So I do Call of Duty, we have Stardew Valley, I'm doing Ori and the Blind Forest right now, and also Shadow of the Tomb Raider. Like, there's very rarely a game that I will not play, with the exception of sports games. I just can't figure out sports games to save my life. But aside from that, there's my dog in the background. She usually appears on stream, and I use her to get people to donate to charity. So
That's a good boy.
I made a mental note of that.
That's what I did, because I was like, I've never done like a charity thing before. So when I did the stream here, I was like, every $10 that gets donated for the kids, she gets a treat. And oh boy, that was too many treats. I had to like cut it to the next day.
Maybe next time will be $20.
Yeah, it was like $20 gets her a snack. Let's do this.
Oh, that would be their best day. Okay, well, it was nice getting to know you guys initially. So we're going to start this off. What did everybody? Okay, yeah, everybody did. I don't know why I thought we had one more. I'm not counting correctly. I was like, 1, 2, 3. I know there's 4. I didn't count myself.
Denny's throwing us off.
Good for me in that Asian math. Okay, so what does being an Asian American or Pacific Islander American mean to you? I'll start with Gongjulee because, again, you are the center.
No worries. Personally, for me, it's how I personally identify with being Asian American, and just today, how I grew up, it gives me, I feel really enriched with culture, if that makes any sense. Like there's my mother is a first generation immigrant, so like she brought all of that culture with her, and so I just felt like everything that she's kind of passed down onto me, I cherish that a lot, and I have a deep appreciation for that. And I like, yeah, appreciation is the word, but I feel really prideful for like I'm really of being Asian American, because I think it does add a very unique thread into this whole history of American history. So it's a very vague explanation, but like the main feels about me being Asian American is that I just feel a really great sense of pride that I am one. That hopefully that makes sense. I'll elaborate if needed be, but that's the TLDR version of that for me personally.
I love it.
I love it too. Chanzlyn?
So I am technically half Pacific Islander and half Anglo-Saxon, but I was born in Hawaii. I grew up in Guam and Saipan. And so most of my like cultural upbringing has been just my maternal island life. And I'm not even remotely upset about that, because that life has just been wonderful. The biggest thing that I like miss from the islands and how it affected me to coming to the US was I miss the what's the word? Kind of like just the family that the neighborhoods bring together. Because when I was out in the islands, like everybody knew everybody down the street. We knew each other around the corner. We had family everywhere. We were always close together and we shared everything. Like we were constantly always finding a reason to have a party. So almost every weekend we had like 200 people get together and we just barbecue like all day. And then coming to the States, I'm like, I don't even know who my neighbor is. Like it wasn't until I bought a house that I was like, I feel this obligation to know who my neighbors are, because this is, my house. It's not my apartment. But when I lived in apartments, I was just like, we don't have a reason to connect. People don't want to connect. And it felt lonely to come out to the US, especially with how big the US is, because Guam is like 30, 40 miles long and like 4 to 9 miles wide, and Saipan is 44 square miles. So to be like that small, like obviously you have this sense of obligation to get to know people, but it was crazy just how tight and a community we felt. And then coming to the States, I'm just like, wow, there's all these people and I know none of them. That's odd. So like being Pacific Islander, it gave me more of a world view in terms of how I treat my friends and how I collect them more as family, rather than like, this is my friend. I'm like, no, you're a sister or you're a brother and I love you. Like that's like, we freely love. I don't use like, I love you just for my husband. I use it openly with my friends. Or I'm like, hey, no, I genuinely love you. I'm there for you. Call me at 3 a.m. I got you. So it's been an interesting experience just to see the extreme disconnect from like being outside of the US to coming into the US.
I totally get what you mean, and I'll answer all the questions last. Okay, so, Shimi?
I don't know how I can follow up on that. So my story of being Pacific Islander / Japanese / Panamanian, I got a lot of slashes. So it's a little bit different than, say, you guys who got to experience it firsthand. I was born and raised in Visalia, California. My father was Hawaiian and my grandfather on his side was Japanese. However, my father was not a good man. So my mom left him before I was born. Throughout my life, I've probably seen him maybe 2 or 3 times. So I don't really know very much about that side of my family. I met my grandmother once, who was like Hawaiian from the dawn of time Hawaiian. And even then, like, she didn't really seem like she wanted to connect with me, because I guess by that time I was 16 and she didn't really know how to. So I hear breathing. Is that my dog snoring? Like, I don't know if it's
Might be mine. I'm sorry, I'll mute.
Oh, sorry. I thought it was my
We
dog.
can all stop breathing for you.
So anything that I wanted to learn about my cultures, I would kind of have to teach myself. Because when I would meet people in person that were either Pacific Islander, except for one, he was Tongan and he took me in really quick. But they didn't believe like I was enough of one thing to be considered a thing, if that makes any sense. So my friends were mostly white while I was growing up because I found like they were the only ones who accepted me. So um, for me, this whole month means something to me because I want to learn more about my culture that I missed out on in life. So I'm kind of envious hearing your guys' stories of growing up on islands and having someone be a first generation and stuff like that because I don't know what that's like. My mother, she moved to California when she was 13 from Panama, and she met my father in high school. And yeah, that's basically my origin story. So if you guys have anything you would like to share about Hawaii or stuff like that, I would be more than happy to listen.
So I actually currently do still live in Hawaii.
Awesome.
I live on the island of Kauai, which is the smallest, most country part of like all of Hawaii. And when it comes to vacation, I always tell them don't go to Oahu. It's pretty much you're just going to LA with palm trees.
But
But
LA has palm trees.
okay, better looking palm trees.
I'm gonna clip that and send that to my mom because she is obsessed with going to that island. I'm telling her no. So thank you for giving me that.
Go to Maui. Go to if you want you still want that city kind of ish feeling, go to Maui. Maui's a good mixture between Oahu and Kauai. If you want the full country experience and feel like you're cut off from the entire world, then come to the island I live on, which is Kauai. It really is because okay, well, first off, if you have Hawaiian blood in you, I would say definitely go and get your lineage. If you can go and talk to some family of it, there's actually a lot of benefits, a lot of programs that are tailored for people that have Hawaiian blood still within them. If you have kids, there's so many scholarships and so many schools like King Kamehameha School. They only accept children of Hawaiian blood into their school, and it's an amazing private school, to be honest. So there's a lot of benefits if you can go and get your lineage and improve. This is your family tree within the Hawaiian bloodline. Definitely go and do that. Um, However, I'm not Hawaiian whatsoever, and it's kind of drives me insane where I'll tell somebody, "Yeah, I live in Hawaii." "Oh, you're Hawaiian." No. Like that's like saying, "Oh, you live in California and you're Californian," and treating Californian as if it's its own ethnicity. And it's not. And it's that concept that people just don't really understand. And for me, I'm very quick to correct that because living in Hawaii with Hawaii history and everybody who comes of Hawaiian descent, it's almost disrespectful, at least in my eyes. It's disrespectful because they're fighting for so much more and they're trying to keep, I guess, their own history from not being erased. Like in Hawaii, we learn about Hawaiian history. We learn about how Hawaii wasn't necessarily nicely taken as a 50th state, and so much things that are trying to change what the culture and the history is of it. So you have people who are actually actively fighting to try to get their independence back and be released as a U.S. state. So it's a very, very interesting thing to be a part of. But all of my family, I'm technically Filipino, Chinese, and Spanish. And the Spanish part, I don't necessarily I'm not embarrassed by it. I'm not ashamed by it, but I don't necessarily embrace it because it's not something that is kind of recognized in my family. Like we don't see Spanish. We always see it as like, okay, well, somewhere back in our history, the Philippines was raided by a bunch of Spaniards, and there's the Spanish. Here we go. And I mean, that's like really way back when. But I am a second generation in my family. My grandparents immigrated here from from China and from the Philippines, but they didn't necessarily teach my parents about our history. It's very, very strange when they came here and they worked on the plantations. Like majority of everybody who immigrated to Hawaii, they just worked the plantations. And you have such a huge melting pot of all of these Asians and Pacific Islanders. You have the Filipinos, the Chinese, even Puerto Ricans here. Um, you have Koreans and so much more. It got to the point where you had all of these different languages, and the way they communicated was what is considered pidgin in Hawaii, which is the most broken English, but it was kind of like how they kind of communicated. So they didn't necessarily speak in their native tongues to each other. It was just this broken English that came from it. And my grandparents didn't teach my parents how to speak Mandarin. They didn't teach my parents how to speak anything of Filipino. I'm like the worst Filipino. I know you said you are, but I'm the worst Filipino because I don't understand a lick of it at all. And the thing is, my grandmother can speak Visayan, Ilocano, Tagalog, and Papangan, and I don't know. All I know is that when she breaks out into it, I did something wrong because she doesn't have the words to say it to me in English.
Oh my god, that's so true. That's completely true.
Oh,
Like
that's
while I was learning Korean, like I was like when I didn't understand Korean, I was like, I don't know what she's saying to me, but all I understood is like when she broke it out, I'm like, I did something wrong, and I was just trying to figure it out. So I learned Korean through anger.
It's relatable. It's usually when I heard my middle name, I was like,
Oh
okay.
yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
yeah. So it's that whole name. I have like 5 names, and when I hear all 5 of them, I'm like, oh yeah, okay. You're on level 5 here.
Oh, yeah. I feel that in my soul.
5 alarm.
I'm having like flashbacks right now.
PTSD.
Pretty much. I remember they would pick up that slipper. Gotta run.
The chancla.
Oh.
And the aim was on point. It doesn't matter what
Every
it is. It doesn't
time.
even matter
That's
if it's
crazy.
aerodynamically. They're just that. I'm working on mine still. I'm still working on it. I miss still.
Yeah, it's like through sheer will, it'll always land on target.
Every time. My grandmother,
Like,
she was
girl.
like in her 50s. She had diabetes. She had like a limp, and she had perfect aim. It was incredible.
I'm glad we all experienced that.
Something we can all connect on. Different walks of life. Same slipper.
How did you get lickings? The same exact way.
Yeah. Seriously.
But it's like growing up like that, I didn't really know what my culture was. Even as an adult right now, I'm 34 years old, and I'm learning now that certain things I knew growing up doesn't necessarily come from my ethnicity or from my culture. I say that so weirdly. It doesn't necessarily come from the Filipino Chinese side. Sometimes I'm like, oh, that's like, Hawaiian mannerism. Oh, this is a Portuguese mannerism. And it's so strange. Even words that I thought, like, it wasn't until, I know we're not supposed to cuss, but it wasn't until I think I was well into high school that I knew that Okinamyu wasn't a Hawaiian thing. I was like, oh, okay. Okay, I got it. I heard that a lot from my grandmother. So was you then. But like, well, funny how I only know the curse words and angry words. But it is strange to think of myself as Asian American because I wasn't necessarily raised in a very specific Filipino traditional marriage manner or Chinese manner or anything of the above. It was just this mishmash. So it's like I guess I relate more to the Pacific Islander and like you were saying, Chanzlyn, about that whole island mentality of family and just like it's not like my friends aren't just my friends; they are my family. They are as much to me as my blood is. And we have this thing called hanai, which in Hawaii is just pretty much like an unofficial adopted person in your family. I grew up with a hanai brother, and he was pretty much our brother, even though like I'm the second oldest of 8 kids and like the first oldest of kids of blood of 5. So like there's that weird thing where just pretty much everybody's my family. If I like even now, even outside of this, it's hard for me to just go to the mainland and just this person is just my friend. No, I will be there to protect you like you are my family. So that's where I come from. And I'm only now as an adult just trying to figure out what it is that really speaks to my Filipino and Chinese sides because I have a 15-year-old son and he's half Asian, half Caucasian. And he's having this identity crisis where he does look a little bit more Caucasian because he has a fairer skin, but his features are very Asian. And people don't know what to make of him. And he doesn't even know what to make of him because I'm not really pushing it down like my parents did to show that, you know, this is part of your heritage too. This is a part of you. So like I feel like realizing that now, growing up, I think I treated myself more like a Caucasian person than an Asian person, if that makes sense. It's just like kind of trying to learn your history, Shimi. It's just finding out who you are and trying to build roots into that.
It's really hard to do. So
Yeah.
I hope he has
Yeah.
a good support system. So
I hope so. I'm trying to figure it out. It's like we're gonna figure it along with
yeah.
us, like together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that actually like this is kind of a little bit off of the questions, which kind of leads into another one. Since we're kind of talking about them, bringing it up. Do you feel that as Asian Americans, like we're getting to the point as we're going down in our generations, we're losing sight of that? Do you, like are there traditions that you're gonna try to push onto your kids in your culture and in your like how you were raised?
That's a good question.
I like traditions, but me coming from a place where I only got half of them, I try to make my own traditions since it's going to be my family. So I don't know. Like just weird things. I wouldn't say that it's cultural, like my weird traditions. I'm starting small. Like, for example, always carving a pumpkin for Halloween. Like, I really enjoyed that as a kid. So I'm like trying to pass on the things that I enjoyed down. So, but I don't have any kids yet. So we'll see. We'll see what happens.
Chanzlyn?
So I don't have any intentions of having any kids, but like I do try to connect with some of my island heritage and traditions at home with just small little things. So it's just really small things. Like I'm not wearing my necklace right now, but there's a necklace that I shared on my Twitter that only Palauan women wear. It was originally these little stones, and they come in different shapes and sizes. And it was originally our currency way back in the day. And as time grew and as our currency changed, a lot of the stones became necklaces that only the women wear. So I tend to wear it as often as I can. I try not to wear it too much because I'm like paranoid deep down that I'm just going to lose it one day. And so I try to wear it when I'm going to be conscious about it, like especially if I'm at home and I'm going to be doing streams and stuff, I try to put it on, or especially if I go back out to the islands. The other thing that I like with my traditions, it's hard for me to kind of carry them here just because there aren't a lot of people that understand. And so I just try to make more of an effort now to go back out to the islands, because I moved here when I was 12, I want to say, and now I'm 28. And so I moved in with my dad. My dad he is just white as white can be. And so moving to the States, I had, mainly white friends. I had my dad who was just white. My dad tried his hardest to always make sure that my brother and I knew where we came from and knew who we are. But, he's still a white guy, so he doesn't understand a lot of that. And so for the last 14 years, I kind of lost touch with my island life because my dad didn't have a connection with my maternal side of the family as often. And my mom and I didn't have that great of a relationship. But 2 years ago, my mom passed away and I had to go out to the islands for her funeral and everything. And It was the biggest breath of fresh air I'd ever had, because I've gone to other people's like family reunions here. I've gotten, my husband, I had ex-boyfriend family reunions, and everybody kind of seemed off and disconnected. But as soon as I got back out to the islands, after not seeing anybody for 14 years, the first thing all of my uncles and aunts did were like, oh my God, my children are home. And every single one of them came and hugged us and loved on us immediately, like threw parties for us, just had this big get together and started like trying to teach me some of the language because I never had the chance to learn. And so now I try to spend time whenever I have talking with my island family back home, just kind of trying to pick up on the language. That way I have that personal tradition and kind of carry those little things as much as I can. So I try to keep the traditions, but it is very hard when most of the people around you just don't understand and it's hard for you to explain.
Okay, so speaking of transitions, for those, or Gongjulee, you have to answer. So,
In regards to traditions, for me, it would mostly be if I decide to have children, it would be mostly passing down like the Korean language and Korean food. Because the one thing I always like really look forward to when I was growing up was my mother cooking all these different types of Korean food, and I feel like that's like her one special touch that she can always pass down on the knowledge to us, like how she cooked like kimchi or dakdoritang or bulgogi, like her like unique like recipes, like the whole like traditional like passing down recipes from like mother to daughter. I would like to kind of like do the same thing with my children, and then also help make sure that they learn the Korean language, because I think that's a really heavy identifier in regards to validation of identity. Because like I feel when I was learning Korean, I felt like when it was me not knowing Korean didn't make me Korean enough, and then I wasn't seen as Korean in the eyes of like my peers at the time, I felt. So I really feel that I passing that knowledge down onto my children, it will help them, with on their own journey trying to identify for themselves, that it will be an asset for them instead of something that's a kind of a deterrent, making them think like, oh, I'm part Korean, but I don't know Korean, and my mom is like trying to push this culture down on me, but I'm like, I don't relate. So I feel like passing down the language and food of cuisine knowledge that my mother passed down onto me is something I'll pass on to my children.
so outside of just those normal traditions in your foods, and we're mixing in our past generations since we're talking about our grandparents and stuff, are there other mannerisms, I guess you could say, like for example, we were talking about how we all just have that dead aim from our grandparents. Um, but like, how do you feel our generation it has migrated or mixed in with how am I trying to phrase this question? How do you think we compare to our grandparents' generation?
I don't think I really can compare, honestly. It's like even judging from the grandma that I did have with, it's just our views are so different. And I feel like that's the case with many older generations. They're very much so stuck in their ways. Whereas now, things that were acceptable back then are no longer acceptable. And I always find like it's the older generations that are complaining that everyone's so easily offended these days. But it's just that everyone is changing. So I don't know. I don't think I'm very similar in the sense that I'm more accepting. Am I too quiet? I'm sorry. Sorry, Jenny. I can't talk too loud because I'm sick. So just bring my mic closer to my face. But yeah, does that answer the question? I don't know.
I think it does. I mean,
Okay.
if you come, Julie.
I think for me, because for me, I didn't grow up with my grandparents because they passed pretty early on in my life. But just from what I've heard from my family, like back in Korea, I think the biggest difference between that generation and now is like the sense of work ethic. Like that's always been like instilled in me to like always work really, really hard. But then Koreans have a really horrible notion to like overwork themselves. So I feel like that's just a cultural thing in regards to, you know, placing a lot of value on working as hard as you can to provide for your family at no matter the expense of like your personal, mental or physical capability. But I feel like the Koreans now, like my cousins now, they have a different mentality then to compare to like their parents and like their experience with my grandparents, where they're just like they're a little bit more mendable, I guess, in that regard, where they see the value of hard work, but not to the point of like overexertion, overwork, and just sacrificing all these, personal moments of their lives for, the greater good of work. So I feel that's, for me personally, is like the biggest difference I see between like the old school generation like Koreans and then younger generation of Koreans, and especially with like Korean Americans, since that's never like Korean, or at least for Korean Americans, that whole like overwork themselves was like never like a thing. And I know that was always like a like kind of a culture clash between like Koreans and Korean Americans, where work is valued but not valued to the point where they needed to overwork themselves.
Chanzlyn?
So my grandmother, she passed away when I was 10 or 11, but I spent most of like my childhood with her. She was more my maternal figure than anybody else. And so I've seen a lot of things that I do is similar to her in the fact that I take care of my family. I am the mom friend, as a lot of people have dubbed me. So I throw parties, I take care of all the food, I coordinate everything just like she did. And like that's the only part of it that I really see that I connect with her, because the other side of it is with my island family. It's a very matriarchal society. So she was one of our elders, so she controlled like the finances, she coordinated wedding planning, she coordinated the gifts and all that stuff, and I just don't do any of that. And I know that's also just like part of her work ethic, because she had like a day job, but she also took on more duties than just being a parent to everybody. Like she helped kept the community together. Whereas for me, I see that disconnect here just in the States. Like even with my friends and family, like, yeah, we're a community, but I don't have that need to be in charge like they did. Like I know that's like my biggest disconnect with both my grandmother and my grandfather. Because my grandfather, he used to be like the governor of Palau for a long while. So he oversees a lot of the family out that way, and he handles he handles a good chunk of all that, like everything within the community. And I'm just kind of like, it's never going to be me. I have no interest in tackling that large of a responsibility. And I think it's part of that generation gap.
I'm loving that like I get to answer this last, because it's interesting to hear this, because again, like I said, I'm trying to like figure out who I am as an Asian outside of Hawaii, because Hawaii is just a smorgasbord. So living here, I mean, I did live in California for a bit, and I don't know how my mother found like Glendale, even though Glendale has a ton of Armenians, it has a really huge Filipino population. So we fit in really, really well. But even then, in the Filipino population, I wasn't Filipino enough. But in like living here in the culture that we live here, kind of you're saying that we had like this matriarchal thing. Like I referred to my grandmother as the grand matriarch. My first grand matriarch on my mom's side, she passed away when I was like 14. But like like I had a huge tie to her. She was like my inspiration for everything. But of the women in my family, starting from my grandparents, who on both sides, actually amazingly on both sides, that when they immigrated over, the women in my family have always been the dominant ones. And the men in my family, even though I have like 5 uncles, they were just a hard labor. They just know how to like just tell me what you want me to do and I'll go and do it. Where the women just kind of handled like everything else, the planning, the organizing, the making sure that everything stayed together. And I think I'm lucky in the sense that I still have that. And I try to learn how to be a team player. Like I don't mind being a team player. I just don't like not being the one that gets to control things. Like, I'm sorry. We're not going to go your way. I like it this way because this is the way that works out better right here. And I turned into the person of like, you know what? Fine, we'll go your way. And then when your way doesn't work out, here's my way. And it
feel
sounds
that.
it's really, really, really bossy, but it's just like, for me, I put so much thought and effort into stuff, and I really think about it, and I love that work. I love that drive, and even though I think it's a lot, it's hard on me when my grandparents think like it's not enough. Like my grandmother thinks I'm completely fragile. My grandmother is 86 years old. And she still like goes and does everything. She does her own yard work. She does all this stuff with her church. And I come over to help her as she's 86 years old and I'm weed whacking. She's like, don't do that. You're going to hurt yourself. Like, what? And like this woman can get down into the Filipino squat or the Asian squat and like sit Indian style like that. And like me, I'm like, hold on, give me a second. I'll get up. And I'm like, okay, I get it. So that work ethic, I'm grateful that got pushed onto me. I'm failing at instilling that into my kid, but like it's interesting that I feel like I don't want to say like I'm not good enough, but I think it's the type of work that we have now is so different to what our grandparents had, where they say like, oh, you're just sitting in front of a computer or you're just doing paperwork, which sometimes that can be really easy, but sometimes it's like it's stressful, especially if you're a number crunching job or if you have a lot of things that have to do a lot of calculations. I'm an electronic tech engineer, and there's a lot of things I have to do, which is making sure that equations are correct because a lot of things can really go really, really bad, and it's super stressful. And it's a lot of long hours at work. To my grandparents, is like that's all you're doing. Like you didn't do any hard labor. You don't have any calluses on your hands. You don't have that. I'm like, but it's just as hard. Um, and I think even this is what I love about people who immigrated over and like they kind of just had nothing. I am a firm believer that both of my grandfathers are MacGyver because they can literally make anything. Anything. It blows my mind. And I like got like half of that skill. Like I am useful to the point where like, okay, I can figure out how to get something working that's broken, but I can't invent something on the fly to make it work. And that's something I wish a skill, I guess I wish I had that I think my grandparents kind of just like look at me like in disappointment. Like my grandfather, he used to go not really deep sea diving, but it's like kind of like in the reef diving for taco, and he couldn't afford goggles. So he made his own out of like the water hose from the radiator off of a car, bamboo, and like some broken glass that he found.
And a
He,
paperclip.
no paper clip. But like that's that like he formed it, he made it all and it worked really well. And I was like I found it one day and it was like really kind of like beaten and the glass was like shattered. I'm like, what is this for? He's like, that's his diving goggles. I'm like, yeah, okay.
But did
It's
it work
just
though?
yeah, it did. It worked for a long time because that was also one of his source of income. When he was working on the plantation to make extra money, he would go and either make extra money or to have food because in the camp, well, camp is the correct word because that's what it is. But in the plantations, their neighborhoods were called camps, and my family came from Camp 6, and they would have like their big cookouts and barbecues, and so he would go, diving for taco or octopus, and he'd bring it back, and either he'd sell it or it'd be part of the meal that was made. So I worked with him for like a really long time. But I feel like I'm in this constant struggle of trying to prove myself. And granted, I only have my grandmother left. So I didn't get approved my other 3 grandparents. I'm like, am I good enough now? Not like I'm seeking approval, but it's just like, I need to prove you wrong one of these days. One of these days, I will prove you wrong and be like, ha, I did it. But it's just that. And then when they see my son, because my son is technically of blood, he is technically the first of his generation, and he might be the only of his generation, which is kind of a strange thing of that my grandparents are kind of disappointed about is that during my grandparents' age, when they had kids, my grandmother on my mom's side had 8 kids. My grandmother on my dad's side had 5 kids. And of those 5 kids, and all my cousins, I have 33 cousins. Um, only 2 of us have kids, and we only have 1. So it's like that disappointment of like, where are your children? Who's gonna help you around your house? When you get old, what are you gonna do? Depend on 1 kid? I'm like,
Yeah.
yes.
I definitely can relate to that. Where are your children?
Why aren't you married yet?
Yeah.
Oh, I know a nice boy. No. We're good. We're good. Leave me alone. So those really weird things. But now that we have established pros and cons and the differences here, stereotypes that has been pushed along with the entire Asian culture. Which ones do you think applies to you, and which ones do you really, really, really dislike?
For me, it's anger. It's like I'm a very angry and Koreans have like this really bad stereotypical like label for being really angry. Like you see in like all the K-pop, like well not K-pop, but like those K-dramas, like they're all like, oh man, why are you so angry? And they're really like yelling. And they're like, yeah, or like yeah, like something like that. But I feel like even though I personally know and feel that it's a negative stereotype, I can't help but there's like a kernel of truth with that because I'm always really angry, like a seething anger, and I try to like twist it around, being like, oh no, I'm just being really aggressively assertive because you're incorrect, and I need you to know that, like, so I can be happy. So, like that's
I like that.
but I feel that is even though it's a harmful stereotype, it's true. All the other Korean people that I've known are very passionate, is a positive word I'll try to use, about their like opinions and stances and perspectives, and that can be misconstrued as anger. So that's that for me. That's the stereotype that bugs the hell out of me. But I can't deny that some of it may be true.
Side note, not behind the scenes, just before we went live, she was yelling.
About chicken. About spicy chicken.
She was really passionate about her nuggets.
Oh, and guess what? And then we have an ending to that story. So yes.
So good.
Chanzlyn, Jimmy?
It's kind of weird. So coming to the US, the only time that I was really faced with a stereotype, it was more just kind of like blatant ignorance. And it was the 8th grade. I remember this clear as day because it's the dumbest thing I've ever had. Well, one of the dumbest things in my life. We had moved to Reno, Nevada. I went to school, and I was the new girl in school, and they were introducing me and all that good stuff. And I sat down. This kid turned to me, and he's like, "So how did you like come to the US? Do you guys have like planes out there?" I was like, "Excuse me?" He's like, "Did you come by boat?" I was like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa. We need to pump the brakes. What is happening in this conversation right now?" But like outside of that, like the only other instance I get, it's not, I don't know if it's a stereotype or not, like, is I've met people who are just like, "Oh, you're an islander, so you're very exotic." I'm like, "What the fuck does that mean? Please." Like, can we not do this right now? No. But like outside of that, I don't think I've really had any like anybody express any stereotypes to me and like Pacific Islander. Oh no, I lied. We're laid back. We're supposed to be like really chill people who just eat like spam all day. Like that has been the biggest stereotype.
Yes.
I was like, I totally forgot about it because I won't lie, it's true. We eat a lot of spam. I have no shame.
I
We have
love
like
spam.
I love spam. We have like 200 recipes for spam. You go to the islands, like Guam used to be the #1 spam consumer in the world. No shame. I got no shame about it. But I guess that's the only stereotype is we eat a lot of spam and we're super chill. And for the most part, that's right. And I'm not mad about it.
I can kind of relate to some of the things you said. I've heard a lot of spam comments toward me. I've heard like, "Oh, you're so exotic." Like, what does that even mean? I don't understand. I get it from everyone though. Like, it's not just white people. I get it from other people of color as well. And I never understood what they meant by that.
I still don't.
But I don't
Neither
either.
do I.
I've heard people like come up to me and they're like, "What are you?" And I'm like, I tell them what I am. But now, as I've gotten older, I've become a little bit more sassy. And so I just tell them that I'm a unicorn. And I just like strut about on my merry way and just because this. And I'm tired of people who try to put you in a familiar box because that box makes them feel comfortable because they can relate to said box. But me not being around my family from both sides, like I don't really know where I fit in. So I hate when people ask me those stupid questions because what does matter? I'm human, right? Another thing I get is always something coconut or pineapple related.
You're right.
Isn't it?
My
Like
nickname was like pineapple for the longest time.
it's terrible. I was like, yeah. Do you like eat a lot of coconuts? And like, I'm afraid to admit it because I really do like coconuts, but I don't want to admit to them that they're right.
Yeah.
Like no. And then like with my Asian friends, like for example, a Vietnamese mutual friend here. I by the way, I currently live in Canada. It's a long story, but I live here, and there's a huge Asian diaspora here from every country of Asia you can imagine. Like, I have a lot of Korean friends, I have a lot of Vietnamese friends, Chinese. Kevin's Chinese, and his family, his parents don't even speak English, so I'm learning a lot of Chinese stuff here. So, that being said, my Asian friends, we would go out to eat, and they're just like, "Wow, Mimi, you could really use those chopsticks. I never knew that you could." And I just look at them sideways, just like this. I turn my head and I just look at them. And I don't say anything because I don't know how to say anything because I don't know if they're being racist or not. I just kind of, I don't know. So coconuts, pineapple, and spam. That's basically what I hear a lot.
Yeah.
I like
I realize. See, I realize now that you say that, I'm like, it's always food.
Yeah.
It's always a
Because
food
that's
thing
all
that I
they think
hear.
about. They think about luau's, Lays, and coconuts.
Oh, and do you hula? Because that's just a thing that
I've been
you
asked
do.
that too. They're like, "Oh, you can probably dance really well in Spanish. Like, you came out the womb dancing." And I'm like, "Actually, I can't." Like, and then I play games like Just Dance, and then he's like, "Yeah, you can dance." But he saw me in Memphis. He saw when they pushed me into that dancer circle, and I hit him with the. Like, that's what I did. Okay, it's like you're going like this.
Those are classic moves. Do not devalue them. They're amazing. Always appreciate them.
It was so funny because as fast as Leela pushed me in the circle was as fast as she pulled me out of the circle. Okay, I'm not even joking.
Oh no.
Okay.
I love it.
I guess I hear so much more stereotype than anything else. Terrible thing. I am eating coconuts. They're coconut chips. That's what I grabbed before I went to go sit down. And then the funny thing is that we did have spam for breakfast. And I asked my son, I messaged my son. So we have spam zucchino, garlic spam, Portuguese sausage
Wow.
spam.
What? Where do you find these?
Our grocery store.
Yep.
I need to find different flavors of spam.
I think I've like we had some other ones like there's peppercorn spam, bacon spam.
Yup.
There's a lot. There's a hot and spicy spam.
Bacon spam.
Yeah.
Don't hate.
No, I'm trying to like wrap it around my brain. Like, how does it work? Because I thought spam was like bits of pork already.
Yes.
Kind of.
But like add more.
All right,
Oh,
I'll play this
Oh,
card.
oh, oh,
I'll play this
another
card.
person.
What is spam in general?
Well, no,
I-
because that's where I was about to go with this. Someone told me, like, as I was eating spam, they're like, ew, you eat spam? And I'm like, yeah, what of it? They're like, doesn't that mean stuff posed as meat? I was just like,
It's still meat. It doesn't matter.
It's no different than a hot dog, my friend.
yeah, right?
That's how I think about it. Like it's the same thing. I don't care. It's edible. I can eat it. It tastes good, and it goes well with everything. And the great thing
Hot
about living in
dogs.
Hawaii, our
Yeah.
fast food joints, we have special breakfast platters. I think in Guam too. I think Guam has it as well.
Yes.
Please.
We have Portuguese eggs and sausage, egg platters. We have spam eggs and rice platters. I like all our fast food restaurants, and it's like a staple. Like it's just there.
yeah.
Just there. So that stereotype, yes. Yes, I'm from Hawaii. And yes, I do eat a lot of ridiculous amount of spam, okay?
It's
Fight me.
delicious. Like,
What are you
you're
gonna
over
do
here
about it?
complaining about our spam, but they will be more than happy to bite down into a hot dog that's made of like pork knuckles and uteri and stuff like
I
that. Like,
know.
they don't even know what's in it.
Nope.
Like, don't come for my spam. okay?
Right?
Don't touch my spam. At least my spam comes in different flavors. And less sodium if you need it too. But
Spam
what?
musubi is also good though.
Yes, it is.
It is. So good.
So good.
Now I'm like, am I gonna have spam later? Maybe.
I might just go out and buy some spam.
Like when I lived in California, I really don't like the thing, oh, you're Asian, you must be smart. I mean, like I'm not dumb, but like I think like when they pose it around, it's like if they don't have an answer for something, go ask the Asian. I'm like, or figure it out yourself. Like, why do you automatically think that I have the answer instantly just because I'm Asian? That's like really weird. But I personally think that to a degree, a lot of stereotypes that's proposed to me, I kind of am true about, and I hate that I am, and I try so hard to just hide it. Like, yes, I do eat a lot of rice, like a lot of rice. I think I have it like 4 of my meals out of the entire day. Even if I don't think the meal needs rice, I ask my son, go make 2 cups of rice just in case.
You're speaking to my soul.
You know, fun fact: Panamanians actually eat more rice than Asian people.
Oh.
I looked that up on Google.
Oh.
I remember when we first moved to the States, we went to a restaurant and I had like a steak and they gave me like a side of potatoes. I was like, but where's the rice though? And it's like, they don't really do that here. I was like, they need to. What is this?
Need rice.
Oh yeah, I can't. Sometimes I dread going to certain states because I'm like, they don't have rice there. I don't know what I'm gonna do. Like, I have a hard time eating any type of meat. I don't care if it's chicken, steak, whatever it is, spam. I can't eat it without rice.
Yep.
So I just turned into a vegetarian. I'm
Oh,
so-
no.
That was like when
It's so
I had a
sad.
doctor's appointment last week, and my doctor's like, "Well, you need to stop eating starchy foods like rice." I'm like, "Well, that's not gonna happen."
We're gonna figure out. I wash my rice. Well, actually, it kind of depends on what I'm
Yeah.
cooking, but I do wash my rice.
Yeah, who
Who doesn't wash their rice?
Who doesn't wash the rice? I thought that was like the staple in regards to cooking rice. You need to wash it first.
Well, yeah, you do if it's just like regular rice or sushi rice. But when I make arroz con ganduli rice, or red rice, I think in Guam we call it red rice right, or something.
It's my life.
I don't really wash it because like the stickiness of it actually holds the flavor better.
Interesting.
It also depends on like the type of rice too.
So like that's the only rice that I don't want. Everything else is washed. And then like what was the other stereotype I really dislike?
You don't, Jay. You need to wash your rice. You don't know what kind of bugs get on your rice. You need to wash your.
You put your rice in the microwave. Excuse me?
Is
Um,
that that bag? That bag is like 60-second rice.
Oh, I
minute
just read
rice?
that.
Oh, you just put it in the microwave.
And
and it's
then
done.
you
I need that
rice.
rice. That's less than rice.
Wash
I
the
mean,
yeah, dude. I wash it like bug choy. Yeah, that's exactly. Like, I'm obsessed with
Question,
washing
question
the
for you
rice. Like
Okay.
that crazy.
How do you guys measure your rice?
I
Like,
don't.
My
I'm not
finger.
I
talking
don't.
about. You use your
I'm
finger,
not,
right?
I'm not flipping you
poke-
off. I'm not
Yeah.
flipping you off. I'm just
Oh.
my finger.
You mean
Wait,
it's
wait,
like how
measure-
much water you put in?
Yeah, with
Yeah.
water.
Yeah, you
Oh.
use your finger.
Use
Yeah,
your
finger.
Yeah.
I
I thought you meant like the actual rice. I'm like, who?
no, you use your finger.
No, yeah, you just pour that rice in, you put the water in, you measure with your finger.
Yeah,
Done.
but you measure to the line, right? Like that's what I was told. Measure to the line of your finger.
The first line.
Yeah, the
Yeah,
knuckle.
the first
Yeah.
line. The first line.
Usually,
Is that
Yeah.
a knuckle? Is that a knuckle? I always thought this
I
one was
don't know.
a
It's like a
knuckle.
joint.
The joint.
Like a joint
The
part.
joint, the first
Yeah.
joint.
The first curvature.
There's a little
Okay.
line there. I don't know. That's my grandmother. My grandmother used to tell me that's why God put that there.
They're not wrong. What else do we use that for?
That's all it is. This is only here. This first line is there just for
This is
water
the
measurement.
rice. This is the rice
It
joint.
serves no other purpose.
It is
It's
literally,
rice.
you have like the knuckle, you have the middle joint, and then you have the rice joint.
Yeah, it depends on how big your pot of
I
rice.
think, I think that's how I'm gonna identify this joint from now on. It's just like this is the rice.
I used to ask my grandmother, like, what are the other lines for? He's like, he didn't want your fingers to look off. So he just made them all the same. I believed so many things as a kid. I was so gullible. But oh gosh, stereotypes, rice. Okay.
We just stereotyped just now with the rice fingers. Oh god, I'm sorry.
But I'm glad it's universal. I'm trying to explain that to people who like it's amazing. My boyfriend, he's Puerto Rican, and he's never cooked rice before. He's like, how do you measure it? Use your finger. And like, yeah, he was like so lost. And I thought he understood what I meant, and I walked away. I come back 20 minutes, and he's like looking at his hands, and he's like, so which line is it for 2 cups? Like, he's so lost, and I'm like, why did you seriously sit here for like 20 minutes? Like,
Okay, so
finger
does
is it?
that,
2
does that mean that other people in his family cook rice? Because Puerto Ricans make really good rice.
Yeah. Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
I also I realized that I have some Japanese friends where the men refuse to cook rice because it's the woman's job to cook rice. So
I
they'll
will
cook
ask my
the
roommate
meal.
that after this, and I'm gonna see like the reason why. Because that sounds really ridiculous. Why won't they want to like cook rice? Like it's a job. What don't they want to eat?
That's how it is in my house. What you won't cook, you don't eat.
Right.
Well, that's the thing is a lot of the Japanese men I know that won't cook rice. They'll cook everything else. They'll cook the entire rest of the meal, but they will not cook rice.
Will you cook
I
rice?
always found that interesting. Like we'll get there and it's like, why isn't the rice done? He's like, I'm not cooking it.
That is interesting. I
I'm gonna
will
have to ask
ask
my uncles.
Yeah, I'm
But-
gonna ask my roommate that
Because
that's
rice
a
is the
really
thing that
choice.
takes the longest to cook. You cook everything while the rice is cooking. Like,
Yeah.
when you're done, the rice is done.
But then if you get somebody who cooks really bad rice, it ruins the entire
Oh.
meal.
Yep.
I get so mad. I do not let like my dad's side of the family cook rice because they put way too much water in it and it's way too like not edible.
Gross.
Yeah, it's
And
awful.
mushy.
I
Or
had
it's
roommates
little
that.
rice and it's just hard.
Yep. I had the roommates that cooked the rice in the pot on the stove and they would forget about it. So then the bottom of it's like this brown crust. And I'm like, what are you doing? How dare?
Actually, my mom and my uncles would fight over us at the bottom of the rice bowl. Like after it's done cooking, they're like, "That's the best part." They want that crunchy rice. I don't know how it is in other cultures, but
I mean, I don't mind the crunchy rice, but if it's like burnt crunchy
Oh,
rice,
yeah, no,
Not
like rice.
burnt. Not burnt.
No. This is like my roommates get the rice when it's done cooking on the stove. They just leave it there, so it just keeps cooking. So then the bottom is just like like
Black.
burnt. Yeah, and it's just
Yeah.
like melded with the pot. I'm like, I can't. You're
No.
banned
No.
from the kitchen.
No, my family, they would really like when it's done, the ones that were just at the bottom, so it's a little bit crispy on the outside.
Yeah, those are fine.
yeah, those are delicious. I would want that at the end of like the rice cooker pot. Is like I see all the like the crispy stuff at the bottom. Like, yeah, that's mine, Mom. It's delicious.
I don't like the crispy bits.
No, you can have my crispy
Crispy
bits.
enough.
Yeah, mine. I like rice cakes though. It's just
Oh yes.
rice cakes are really good.
I'd have a good rice cake any day.
Even mochi is rice.
Yes.
See, there's like literally just rice and everything. Just give into it. If a doctor tells you you can't have rice, you know what? You need a different doctor. You don't need that negativity in your life.
That's what I told them. I was like, you don't know
Agreed.
me. You don't know how much I sit here and I play Just Dance every single day. You don't know me,
Don't push your anti-rice agenda on me.
right? Give me the rice.
Okay. I don't even know what the question was.
Just rice.
We're just talking about food. We're like,
Stereotypes.
We're just gonna share rice recipes like fried rice, red rice, Puerto
I
Rican
had
rice. Yeah.
chicken nugget fried rice the other day, and it was delicious.
what? Chicken
I'm
and
in.
fried rice?
It had a fried basil in it as well.
Oh
Oh,
my goodness.
that's delicious.
I need to go make me some rice.
Yeah, I'm in the mood for like making fried rice now. It's crazy.
Okay. Where was I in the list? I'm now just hungry. I'm just straight up hungry. We can exchange
Same.
recipes after this.
Yeah, let's totally do that. Let's exchange like fried rice recipes.
Okay, I'm just going down Denny's questions here. These are really good questions. Do you guys have any personal feelings about having Asian American and Pacific Islander combined into a single month? And how do you feel about that?
So I personally actually like it because I feel like a lot of Asian culture and Pacific Islander culture tends to overlap in various ways. I mean, come on, we were just talking about rice for like ever now. And so, but like not even just that, there's just other parts like Guam, I think Guam and Saipan both have close to like 1 or 2 million Japanese tourists a year. And so a lot of their culture gets melded into ours. So it's everything from food to how we like treat things to various parts of our culture. And just a lot of it tends to blend, I feel. And then I also have a lot of Filipino friends. Like I had a lot of Filipino neighbors, and I still have a couple of friends that I keep in touch with. I have one that only grew up in the Midwest, and so she doesn't have like a strong tie to her Filipino heritage, but she's told me how growing up, she never knew if she was considered Asian or if she was considered Pacific Islander. And that I guess that's a big struggle with her family is that they don't, people try to like put them in a box. And it's like, no, they kind of are both. Like, in my opinion, they're both. So I like having it both together. I think it just makes a lot of sense, especially because it's tied to more so like Asian American and not just, you know, Asians as a whole. Because I feel like that's also kind of a big category in how different they are because of, you know, their generation, their background and culture.
Yeah, you're just nodding like yes.
I agree.
I'm not in agreement.
I don't think I can add anything to that because that's basically how I feel too.
Yeah, pretty much. I think I had my first identity crisis when I had to fill out some paperwork, and it's like it gives you those choices, and I'm like,
yeah, actually,
what do I
that's funny
do?
you say that. That's funny you say that. Is growing up in California and going to public school in California, there's always a, are you Hispanic or Latino, or not Hispanic or Latino? I was like,
Yep.
but I'm both. Like, which one do I fill out? And then my teachers are like, I don't know, just hit other. I'm like, okay. Like, I never fit in anywhere.
Yeah, I always just go with like other. I was like, apply, so other.
No, my when I had to fill out when I was applying for college, that was on there, and I didn't know. It's like Asian or Pacific Islander? And to me, I'm like, aren't they both the same? Why are there 2 boxes? What does this
No.
mean? I was so quick to call my dad. I was so quick to my dad, like, which one do I choose? Because it says choose one. What if I'm not just one? And I was so scared. And this is probably why I wasn't accepted, because I just circled both of them instead of checking. Because my dad didn't know what to put. He's like, but you're both. I'm like, it says choose one. I circled it, made my own box, and checked it.
Oh, that is smart. I should have done that. I'd be like, none of these are box.
That's probably why I wasn't accepted. They're like, this one's not so smart. But there was a day, I don't remember what I was filling out. It actually had it as a single box. It was Asian/Pacific Islander.
Mhm.
And I remember just being so incredibly excited. I was like, yes, I can just check one.
Yes.
Done. We're good. I don't have to worry about this. And yeah. And I just recently went through that with my son, who he's like, Mom, it says Caucasian or Asian. You're both.
Yup.
Just check them both. He's like, just choose one. Connect them. And yeah, I don't see a problem, but I guess apparently that is an issue with having it combined, that people just want their own thing. Where I had to actually look it up before we started off about what is considered a Pacific Islander. And pretty much an Asian Pacific American is a U.S. citizen that origins from Japan, China, Taiwan, Korea, Vietnam, Laos, Cambodia, and the Philippines, Samoa, Fiji, Guam, and any U.S. trust territories of the Pacific. And I was like, well, that's all of us. So I don't see what the problem is.
Everybody, why are you making me choose one box?
Yup.
But like I said earlier, like I don't really consider myself of like Pacific Islander, because I used to think in a naive sort of way that Pacific Islander is like, oh, you're just from Guam or Hawaii, you're good. But then I didn't also realize that before they was combined, that Pacific Islander was pretty much literally any island in the Pacific. I'm like, and cultures from there. I'm like, okay, so why do we have 2 different ones?
Yep.
Like, why is there an option? Because Japan's in Pacific, I'm good. I'm like, why do I have to choose? And I guess I don't quite understand what the issue is. More the merrier. I mean, I feel like there's power in numbers.
Yeah, I agree. Because I was also like reading just the origin of the Asian American Pacific Islander Heritage Month, and it ended on the note that there are 20 million Asian American Pacific Islanders in the US, and that's 6% of the population. And I'm like, it's so small. Like, we should totally band together. We have so much in common, and a lot of our culture overlaps that me personally, I'm like, I don't get the divide. Like, we are family.
Yeah, pretty much. And like we have so many different cultures here.
Yeah, I was like, I mean, we're gonna have different traditions and we'll have different cultures going back in our history and everything, but like as a whole, I agree, power in numbers.
It is. We can go with the whole Lilo Stitch thing. Ohana means nobody left behind.
Yes.
We can go with
I'm a
that.
firm believer that those boxes, so separate boxes, were put there because the white person in charge didn't quite understand.
Yep.
So he made 15 boxes that meant the same thing.
That's
just my opinion.
I'm just gonna put all of these. I don't know anymore.
Yes. 15 boxes, choose one, go.
Oh my goodness. I don't know what this made me think of, but I was like, going back to the stereotype thing. I guess this is more of a personal question for me. Has anybody ever I'm trying to make this seem like it's appropriate, but I don't think there's a really correct way to say it. I want to really approach you and to be like, oh, so you're yellow. And that is a stereotype I don't like. That's like the number one question that my first instinct is, I really want to punch you in the face.
You should have.
Yep.
I second that.
Because it's like, oh, so you're Mexican. I'm like, no. It's like, well, but you're brown. I'm like, yeah, but I'm Filipino. Oh, so really you're just yellow. I'm like,
But
Mm.
that's something I'll never understand is why people try so dang hard to make you something that's familiar to them, as if whatever you are affects them in any way, shape, or form. Example, I had a guy, when I was walking my dog, I went to the park. I had this guy come up to me, speaking to me in Punjabi. And I was like, sorry, I don't understand you. And he was just like, oh, well, what are you? So, I told him what it was. And he's like, really? And I wanted to be like, no, I'm lying to you. Like, why would I pretend that I'm something that I'm not? And for one, it's rude for people to come up to you and start speaking a different language anyway. At least to me, I find that rude before asking for permission. But like, I don't understand why people they need you to be something so badly. Like when I told him that I wasn't Indian, he gave me the nastiest look, like if I was a cockroach or something. And I'm just like, have a good day. Kept walking my dog. I don't know. People are weird.
people are weird, but also people fear something that they cannot make a connection to that is unknown. So if something is unknown to them, their first instinct is to associate it with the closest thing that their brain can possibly do it to fear it less.
But it's like, can't they just connect on a human level? Like you are a person, I am a person.
If they're human enough, yes.
People are shallow, okay?
But I think that that it doesn't even matter what culture that a person is in. I think that's just kind of how you're raised. I think that you learn that habit about based off of how you're raised. And I think going back and now that we're talking about this, that is definitely something I want to pass down to my son, in which to ignore those things. Because people learn that from somewhere and someone, and most of the time it's from your friends or your family, your parents, that fear of the unknown and trying to classify or reject something that they cannot explain for themselves. So, and that's something, to be honest, that's something that my grandparents did have when they lived here, or not immigrated here. And case in point, I won't say the N word, but my grandmother, or not my grandmother, my ex-boyfriend's grandmother, sweetest old lady. She was funny, she was loving, she was caring. But at that time and during her generation, it was okay to say the N word and to refer to Black men as the N word. And my my boyfriend at that time, he got really super tan. Like he's Filipino, but he got super tan. Like he was like almost Diddy dark tan. And I'm like he was outside a lot. She was in the hospital. We went to go visit her. Her first thing out of her mouth is like, "Oh, who is this N word?" And I'm like, "Grandma, you can't say that." And she's like, "It's funny." It's not funny. You can't say that. And it's like it's not understanding why that's bad, and it's just getting pushed down. So you have to just correct that behavior, because her children are kind of the same way too, and they're like, "Yeah, you can't do that." Yeah,
Granny about to
Like
catch these hands.
I was in shock when she did that. She just thought it was funny. And I was like, no, it's not. Don't do that.
Oh dear.
It's just the fear of the unknown.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. We get deep, and then we get into rice, and we get all these other things there.
We're covering all the range of emotions.
Yeah, we gotta make sure. We're gonna go on this roller coaster together. This is an interesting question. So, are there any issues that you have run into being mixed or more than one ethnicity, or that you've seen with others you know?
Yeah, I think I already talked about that.
Yeah.
Being so many things, like not being Asian enough for my Asian side, not being Hawaiian enough for the Hawaiian side, and not being Spanish enough for my Spanish side. So just kind of Take
You
it
can
all
create
in
your own
stride.
category box.
That's what I said. I'm a
Yeah.
unicorn. I'm fabulous. Okay, and people wish they were me. Okay,
I love it.
So
I think that's the part where I've been fortunate, more or less, compared to a lot of my friends who are mixed. Because, like, in the US, I've only had the weird instances with my dad's side of the family, specifically her grandmother, where she's just like, I'm so glad that my kids are mixed because that's the future, is mixed babies. I'm like, no, let's not do that. Mm-mm. But like out in the islands, they don't care that you're mixed. They don't care about any of that. It's like, you are family, you are the child, we love you, we take care of you. Because like, it's not necessarily a stereotype, but kind of, I guess. We are related to a lot of other island folks out there. Like I've expressed earlier, our islands are really small. So trying to find someone you want to marry, you tend to deviate away from other islanders. You want to try to go elsewhere with people you know you're not related to. And so, like, we have my older brother, he married a Japanese woman. So, you know, his kids are half Islander, half Japanese. My mom, she had me and my younger brother, who are also half white. And then we have like half Filipino relatives. And so at the end of the day, they're just like, you're our kid. Like, that's all that matters. I don't know why we need to discuss this. And so definitely for me, I've been more fortunate in having just a family that's accepting of that and never brings it up as like a thing. The only time that it's ever been an issue is because I disappeared for like 14 years and I went back to the islands. One of the elder women, we were sitting there eating fish, and we eat with our hands. Like, our hands are our best utensil. So all of our food is mostly with our hands. So I'm just sitting there like eating fish, and she makes a comment. She's just like, oh, I was really worried you were going to be like really white and you were going to eat with like a fork. I was like, oh, my bad. She was like so proud that I was eating with my fingers. But
Maybe
yeah,
some fair stereotypes you do fit into.
a little bit.
Oh, yeah, fish does sound good. But yeah, you're totally right. Living on an island, you never really know who you're related to, because like everybody, you got to do a background check. You got to do a family history check. This is kind of why I don't date anybody on this island, like
Yeah.
at all.
You need to go back at least like 4 generations to make sure.
Gosh, when my parents were growing up, they're lucky because they're the first generation for them. In high school, there was only 18,000 people on our island. Right now, it's at 66,000 or something, 66 or 67,000 people. Majority of the main families that immigrated here have not left. So, I mean, yeah, there's a good portion that move here. They don't really necessarily stay here. But even like said ex-boyfriend that I was talking to, about go visiting his grandmother, we went to a family reunion of his, and we thought we did a really good family history check. They made shirts made for their family reunion, and one of the 5 main family names was also one of my family names. And we're like, and we are done. We are done. And like he was like, yeah, nope. My grandmother also asked me, why don't you find yourself a good island boy? I'm like, I have to go to another island. If I'm going to do that, I might as well import them. So I imported my boyfriend from California, and he came here. That's how I got the Puerto Rican. No family trees. We're good. Sounds really bad.
It's true. I remember when I went out to Palau for the first time when I was younger, we drove through the neighborhood, and every house they pointed to, they're like, that's your relative, that's your relative, that's your relative, that was your second cousin. I'm like, oh no.
My choices have dwindled.
Yeah, I was like, ugh.
Yeah, even my son, he has his first girlfriend. I'm like, what's their last name? I need to know who the family is, and then I'll let you know if it's okay if you're in the safe zone. Basically, he's in the safe zone now. Okay, we talked a lot about this. Let's talk about video games. Video games, because this is what we do. This is what we do on Twitch here. So, what of all the games that you played? Let's start with something simple. What's your favorite game?
How is that simple?
That's not simple.
Oh, that's super simple for me. I'll start since I had the simple answer for a complex question. My favorite video game of all time is Final Fantasy VII. I know that sounds
Yes!
cop out, but that's what
Yes!
got me into gaming in the first place and the gaming industry. So that always will have a forever special place in my heart. So hands down, Final Fantasy VII. So I'm sorry if I didn't give you guys enough time to like come up with an answer, but yeah, I have never changed from that answer since I've ever played the game. But that's for sure my favorite game in the whole wide world.
Yeah, that's really hard for me to choose because, like, growing up, you know, as I mentioned, we had a lot of like Japanese tourists. So I grew up with a lot of the Japanese games. So Pokemon was like my big thing. I got into like Street Fighter and Kingdom Hearts and all that stuff. But the main reason I got into gaming was actually to hang out with my younger brother. My mom, she worked like third shift. And so whenever she'd get home in the morning, she would just pass out, sleep most of the day. So it was like up to me to take care of my younger brother. He got into video games. And so I was just like, you know what? This will be a way for he and I to bond. And so we literally would just like play whatever game we had. We were extremely poor, so we couldn't buy anything. So my older brother gifted us I think he like left his Xbox with us. And so we had Halo, and that was like it. We just played Halo 1 all the time. And then my mom had a boyfriend at the time who was leaving into the military. And so he gave us his PlayStation, and he had like 4 games. It was like Medal of Honor Frontline, Red Faction 2, Jet Set Radio Fusion, and there was a 4th one, and I think it was a sports game. And so those were the games we played. We played them like every day for like a year plus and then some. And so we're just like, any game we could get our hands on, we're just like, yes, we got a new game, let's play it. So my mom would go and do like laundry, and the laundromat actually had arcades there. And so we'd play all the arcade games for like the 4 or 5 hours we had to hang out at the laundromat. And so it's hard for me to pick a favorite just because I just never really like cling to anyone in particular. I was just always excited to get a new game. But I guess if I had to pick one, it'd probably be Pokemon, just because it's been in my life for 20 years now and it's still there.
I think it's too hard just to pick one because I have too many favorites. I played a lot of Spyro growing up. Oh god. A lot of Crash Bandicoot, which is also one of my favorites. If I had to choose just one, and not being Just Dance, because that is a game that I play the most, but the game that I loved are games that give me feel. So I would have to say Journey, being a recent game that gave me a feel. But probably the biggest one has to be Shadow of the Colossus. That might be my favorite game. I love that game. And I don't know why I did. I just connected to the 4 giant colossi, and I felt so bad for them. So I don't know. It's just a beautiful game.
Okay, so favorite game, Final Fantasy VII is one of my favorite games. But if I had to go with something that the very first one that I kind of just was super attached to and I was just amazed by, and I still am, it was on Sega CD, and Sega CD was so ahead of its time when it came out because it had full motion video and everything like that. It's called Double Switch, and I was such a Corey Haim fan during the Corey era that I just played it just to stare at his face this whole time, and I still do, and I have it. And they limited run games came out with it again, and it's all remastered. And I'm like, I'm gonna still stare at your face because I didn't. You're like laughing, you're like, you poor girl. I know it sounds so creepy, but I was, and I was just
That unquenchable thirst.
It was the glasses, wasn't it? Because I'm looking at the pictures right now.
Is it
Can we
glasses?
Glasses.
And it's so strange because that entire look that he has on that cover, I'm still attracted to men that look like that. But But it wasn't just that. It's just that it was so cheesy that it was so good and funny. And there was actually a few titles around that time, like Night Trap, that was similar to it, but it didn't have Corey Haim, so it's okay. Um, it was just the fact in my mind, that moment in that gaming era, that there's this game that had full motion video, this system, and it's like it had, actual actors that were actually big in Hollywood doing this game. And that was my first experience of having the two things I like, movies and TV shows and video games, combined into this one. And that is still my favorite. It's corny and is as bad as it is. I love it. And plus it's one of those hard games where you have to, I think in total, if you play it perfectly, I think the game's only like 54 minutes long, but you have to memorize so many different things that it has so many endless amounts of replayability to it, just because like you have to make sure it's perfect. Or if you want to see the whole story, because you're switching in between cameras of this hotel that you're in, you have to play through it several times. It's strangely like satisfying. That's Corey Haim. Um, of the video games, is there any characters? I want to actually expand this. Oh, what happened? She didn't want to hear about video games no more. It's okay.
Oh, that was weird.
You became a. I don't know what that is, but that's what you became. What is that?
My
What was that?
Discord, like that was a kaiju from Pacific Rim.
All those that's terrifying.
Yeah, my Discord
really
just like
good movie.
crashed. That was weird.
Okay, I'm gonna expand this to also like movies too, because I think this this question kind of speaks to me. Representation of characters in video games that you associate with or you love and hate.
So I actually did this recently, like a month or two ago, and I was going to bring it up again. With video games, as far as I know, the only Pacific Islander characters is Gibraltar and Apex. There's Pele, who's one of the Hawaiian goddesses in Smite, and there was two other ones that I knew of, and they were just guys. Like I know in Gears of War they have a couple of Islanders, and they're all just dudes. And there's one other one I can't remember. And then I know in
Fantasy 10, Waka.
Yes, I think that might have been that one. And then I know that NPC wise, there's Jonah in Tomb Raider. He's just your little island buddy that hangs out with you.
And Jonah Bear is absolutely adorable. Just gotta put that out there. Just
love him, precious.
Post babe.
And I know there's like one or two more, but the list was like tiny. I was just like, oh my goodness, I need more. I especially need more like island women, because come on now, they're so exciting. But expanding into like movies and stuff like that, I'm not even gonna lie, I loved the depiction that Moana had. Specifically her grandmother. Like her grandmother was exactly my grandmother. Everything about that part of the movie like resonated with me and made me miss my grandma. I cried every time she came on screen. I was just like, I miss my grandma so much. And so like I think her grandmother's probably my favorite depiction. And next would be Gibraltar in Apex, because the way he talks and the way he's shown is exactly like most of my uncles.
I always called him Tito from Rocket Power because.
Oh man, every time I play Apex, I'm just like, oh yeah, I'm gonna play my uncle, and so I just refer to him as uncle like all the time. I'm just like, no, that's uncle. I don't know what you're talking about. Oh yeah, and you're right, Rocket Power. It's kind of funny. So my hair is actually like a blackberry purple, and it made me think of Reggie Rocket, because she is like depicted as being half Pacific Islander with her like really white dad, who's blonde haired and blue eyed. And that is exactly my father. He is blonde hair and blue eyed, but he acts like he's from the islands. He throws up the shaka, he grills all of the island food. Like he really immersed himself within that culture to make sure that he could push that culture to me and my brother, because he really did not want us to forget where we came from just because we moved to the States.
That's amazing.
Yeah, he's kind of incredible in many ways, and in other ways very questionable.
Keeps you on your toes.
That's
It's
true.
true.
Anjali?
In regards to video game characters, I can't really think of like Korean gaming characters outside of like what's his face from Tekken and the one girl from Overwatch. Obviously games I play on the regular. But other than that, I don't really see a gaming character that kind of represents me in general. But then I can't really recall a lot of like Korean gaming characters either. So I feel like I can't really answer that question.
Do you feel it's something that's lacking and needs to be?
I do, like, because I'm a big strong like believer in representation, and I feel like if I saw more people that looked kind of like me, it would help me with not only just coming to terms with my own self-identification, but it wouldn't make me feel as ostracized in a medium platform or an industry that I absolutely adore. Because like I just don't see my face in these games, and I'm just like, oh, boo. But it's okay. I still play the game. I still love them. But for me, I never really felt like there was a particular character physically that I could relate to. I would always pick like different like personality aspects. So that's how I got around that. It's like, oh, personality wise, this character I completely relate to, and that's just a spitting reflection of me. So for me, like representative characters more comes like their character as a person, or as a, I guess a character as a character, whatever, more than how they actually physically look.
Jamie?
Relatable to a video game character. I can't say I relate to any video game character. They barely have black women in video games these days, so let alone a smaller group of people who aren't as represented. Like I really can't connect with anything. But like movie wise, I felt a strong connection to Moana as well. Not just from the story, but basically what we look like. I feel like I look like her. So I thought that was pretty cool for it to be a really popular movie. And it, yes, Moose, I'm not talking to you though. Yeah, I thought it was pretty cool that someone who looked like me was, becoming a household name essentially. Almost as big as Elsa, okay? So that to me was a big deal.
Yeah.
But other than that, like unfortunately, like games, I can't really relate to anyone. I can't think of anyone off the top of my head. So I feel like that needs to change.
I totally agree. I actually liked Denny's little comment about Miles Morales being biracial. Like, that's the other thing, is we just don't see enough biracial characters. And so, like with Apex, it blew my mind that not only is Lifeline like a black woman, but she's actually half Chinese, half black, like half Jamaican. And I was like, that's fucking incredible. Like, they went out of their way to not only just make her, a woman of color, but they actually made her biracial. And that also kind of like impacted me as being biracial, because, I'm more than just being a Pacific Islander, despite the fact that that is most of the culture I grew up with. It's just me deep down. I'm just like, in a way, I'm represented through that. And we definitely need more of that.
Yeah, so that's like a huge. I have to marry you guys. That's like a huge change that needs to be out there. I mean, there's slowly integrated into those things, but um, even as a kid, and maybe you guys felt the same way, like playing with toys. Like you never had that doll or something that felt like you. I remember when I got my first colored doll, even though that Cabbage Patch was supposed to be African American baby, I was just like happy it was brown, and I'm like, in my eyes, you're Filipino, and you're my Cabbage Patch. I don't doesn't matter. I was happy about that because there really isn't anything out there, and I also have like two goddaughters that are half Caucasian and half Japanese. And it is incredibly important to me. It's incredibly important to their mother that they have something that has a strong representation of them, not as only just women that they will grow up to be, but biracial, and to have those toys. And there really isn't, to be honest. And it's kind of like they gravitate towards, not to classify boys and girls toys, but they gravitate towards like action figures because they have ninjas and most of them are depicted as Asians. So they'll go and play with those toys rather than, the Barbie that they got, because Barbie is just this Caucasian doll that they don't associate with, but they love the heck out of all the ninjas and everything that represents for them. And they're only like 3 and 5. So in video games, like I was like so super stoked when Street Fighter came out and had Chun-Li. I'm like, yes, yes, I'm terrible at this game, but I'm gonna play you and only you. And then I felt the same way with Mortal Kombat. Terrible at this game, but you got Katana, you got Liu Kang. I'm good. Like it got to the point where I didn't even care that if it was male or female. It's just that there was an Asian character. I didn't care if what type of Asian they were. I just wanted some type of Asian character. That's it. For me to tie specifically to one, none, and I think that's kind of sad.
Yeah.
Yeah, I completely agree.
Because I was thinking about it, like the Pacific Islander characters I know I associate with one my grandmother, and then the others are all my uncles, and I'm just kind of like, and that's it. Maybe one day I'll be like my grandmother, I guess. Like I know we have Moana, but I don't like physically I have her, but the way she's represented, like, she's still this leader type character that I just don't have any resonation with because she's still, full Islander and I'm biracial. And so I'm just kind of like, yeah.
There is actually. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
I was just saying, I love that, we're getting more representation and everything, but finding a character that I really resonate with has definitely been a struggle.
There is this game, I can't remember the name of the studio. I think it's Wormbite, I think. But there's a game called Ashes of Oahu. It was originally called Night Marchers. That's coming out, and it's supposed to be a post-apocalyptic game that happens in Hawaii. And they're really pulling strong for the Polynesian vibe and feeling and history. When they originally named it Night Marchers, I don't think they visited Oahu before that point. And then they came down and they wanted to learn more about the history so that they can make the game as accurate as possible, and realized that calling it Night Marchers was a really terrible idea. And so they changed it to Ashes of Oahu.
Oh, I'm gonna have to make a mention of that.
So I don't know what type of representation. Well, I don't know type of characters that they have.
Right.
Like right now, I think of the gameplay that they showed is just a male character. But I hope that the NPCs that they put in, the supporting characters and the storyline includes that. Like I'm looking forward to seeing some type of representation, whether it be on the Pacific Islander side or the Asian side. It's just great to see a more diverse option there. So I just hope it's not a bad game overall with a terrible story. That's all I'm
Fingers
hoping for.
crossed.
Yeah, I'm checking out the site right now. It looks pretty attractive in regards to like me interested in wanting to play it. Just looking at it right now. I mean, they couldn't change the URL for it, but it looks good from what they presented.
So that's out there. Just something to keep an eye on, and maybe if you're interested in it, see what they do, and then we can have another show and where we're like, they were terrible. All this
We will dissect the show for the first hour, and then the
Or
last
maybe-
hour we'll talk about race.
And then, yeah, last race. And or maybe, they can reach out to us. We can add the diversity of the Asian, the Pacific Islander culture as consultants for them. Like, you're doing this wrong.
Yes.
Because I think majority of their staff are Caucasians.
Mm.
So
Are you
I think they need
surprised?
something. Oh.
This is my shocked face.
We need a rice cam. Come on. I'll just bring my rice cooker right here and we can just watch the steam.
I would watch that. I really would.
Two rice cookers. I used to
Two
have
rice
3
cookers?
too.
My husband made me get
One-
rid of one of my rice cookers.
I don't know, man.
Get rid of the
That
whole
sounds like a
husband
term.
then.
Yeah, I
Sounds like
was gonna say,
sounds
I'm
like a
like,
him
that
problem.
doesn't sound like a supportive husband.
He just thought it because the thing with rice cookers out in the islands is usually like the gaudier they look, the better the rice cooker is.
Same.
And so he didn't like my old rice cooker because it was really old and gaudy looking. He likes the new one because it looks like fancy and new. It has like a sleek silver thing going on. And I was just like, you don't understand rice. Don't talk to me.
In 20 years, you'd be like, I have to get rid of you because you look Guardian. Remember that rice cooker?
Oh,
We should
damn, that's savage.
You guys should like make an ASMR rice stream. Like hold up the bowl as you're cleaning your rice. Swirl it a perfect amount of times.
Is
There's
that a thing?
actually so I watch a lot of cooking food channel videos and stuff, and on YouTube there's Bon Appetit and they have their own channel. They decided to do an ASMR episode, and it was so good because the first one is Carla and she's literally cooking rice, and so she's just like playing with it. And I'm like, this is actually really soothing and I can feel it in my soul and I love this. So yes, do a rice ASMR. I'll be there.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, it is a thing. We should totally do it.
Okay.
I'm just YouTubing it right now, and it's such a thing. I'm seeing like the types of rice. Like, hey, let's just
so
cook
soothing.
regular Asian rice, and like, hey, let's make like Asian fried rice. It's all ASMR. I'm like, this is great. I would
in.
watch this.
Yes, I'm sold.
Mm.
And we're back here.
And that's just gonna be how the rest of the show is gonna be, just talking about rice. Actually, I do have some ume in my fridge that I want to mix with rice and eat it later, but I haven't done it yet, so I have to do it before it goes bad.
How long do you age your ume? Or do you even make it yourself?
I'm a fraud. I went to Fujia and I bought it. But they make it in-house. I could always ask them. So actually, how would I even make ume? Like, I know you pickle it, but
At work, there's those big Costco mayo jar things.
yeah.
So I was cleaning out our refrigerator at work, and like it's sitting in the back, and I was like, "What is this?" And they're like, "Oh, it's ume. It's like from 2003."
Oh,
And so every December we each eat one. It's really good. I'm gonna say that like the older and longer it's been pickled, the better it is. It is so amazing. I'm like, I cannot go back to store bought like ever again.
I might have to have you send me just one ume. I want to try.
It's like the perfect saltiness to it. I'm like, oh yes, love this. Okay.
2003. Yeah, it's older than some people. Okay.
Yep, it's good, but it's pickled. It's meant to last
To
like that.
age,
Yeah,
like
it's meant,
me. Get better
like
with
all
age.
of us,
Yes.
all the Asian. We'll just be really great looking until we're 70, and then somehow we'll shrink a foot.
Then we'll look like we're 130. Have you guys heard any of those, I guess, stereotypes? Like with people, they're like, oh, black don't crack. Have you heard anything like based towards you? I have. I heard Asian don't raisin.
Yeah.
And I'm just like,
Yeah, that's the one that I hear, and I'm just like, that doesn't sound as good as Black Don't Crack.
Yeah, it really doesn't. I'm like, can we have a better one? Because that's the only one I've ever heard.
Same.
I don't like raisins at all. I love grapes though. No raisin. I also don't like peanut butter. But why are we talking about food again? Oh my gosh.
Okay.
Because we have
So
priorities.
here's a good one, which might lead right back into food, because I know who I'm going to say, and I don't know, maybe you guys will. Who inspires you moving forward?
In which way though?
Yeah.
Like what inspires you? What makes you you, that you just like, you want to be the best version of yourself, that you want to do better? What is your inspiration behind the ethic and everything that makes you you?
I don't really have inspiration because I feel like as I'm leaving my 20s, I'm still floundering and trying to survive. And I'm just telling myself that I need to be better than I was yesterday, honestly. Because I live out here by myself. My family, they live in Texas, and I don't really have contact with them. So it's just me chilling out here. So I feel like if you have inspiration, you have role models, they have to be relevant to you. And right now it's just me and my dog. So maybe I could be like, I strive to be more like Moose and take more because I work too much. Maybe, I don't know. But yeah, I know that sounds really depressing now that I said it out. I'm sorry.
No, it doesn't sound depressing at all.
No.
Sounds very relatable.
I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to be like, and I'm a wet blanket again. Moose looks like you later tonight after Game of Thrones.
That's when I'll be a wet blanket after tonight's episode of Game of Thrones.
Is
for
tonight
sure.
the last episode?
No,
Second to last.
Yeah, second to
They need
last.
to get it
We'd be
together.
super
I'm not
wet
feeling
blankets
this
next
season.
week.
I'm not feeling the season. Is it just me?
Oh, no, I hate this season.
Yeah,
I hate the last
I'm
episode.
not liking it. I feel like
Somebody
everything's just
actually
rushed.
made a comic that was like, "Oh, do you like Game of Thrones?" Like, no. It's like, "Oh, you really should watch it. It's a great show." It's like, no. I've watched it. I just don't like it.
Yeah. Sorry, who's next?
No, you're fine.
Whoever wants to jump in.
I was going to say my grandmother is probably the biggest influence in my life because, she's the biggest part of why I bake. I actually started morphing my main Instagram to just food related things because of her. And then my dad, he's been a chef for over 40 years. So through him, I've just had this bigger appreciation for food. But I'm trying to find that healthy balance with food to where I have it not, diabetes runs high on both sides of my family. And so I'm trying to find that balance to where I can enjoy these good things, these rich, buttery, fatty things, but at the same time, also care about my health because I know what happens in my family if I don't. So I guess in a way that my family as a whole kind of inspires me to just be a better version of me, just knowing the family history and stuff like that.
Yeah, I guess just to follow up on that, outside, the obvious answer, just my mom, definitely helps me push me forward, just because I'm always very. I will admit, I didn't really appreciate the stuff and the sacrifices that she made for me and my sisters while I was growing up, mostly because I was very not aware of any of those things. But when I left to be on my own in California, that's when I started to really appreciate all of the things that my mother has done for me up until that point. And then it's from there I always strive to be better than I was the day before. And obviously with varying levels of success, but she was always a consistent reminder that if my mom can do it, despite all the things that she's been through, I definitely can pull some of that energy and just get through whatever I'm getting through and just move on to the next day, God willing. So she is definitely my reason of moving forward. But if we're going with celebrity type role models, for sure, it will be Crystal K, because she was the first person outside of my sisters that I saw was half Black and Korean. And she's just so multi-talented. And I'm just I would like to be her one day. So that's my answers.
I like that we're just kind of choosing our parents or our grandparents. Mine is my grandmother on my mom's side. She's growing up as a kid with her, she just seemed like Wonder Woman to me. She did everything, and she had 8 kids, and they all just loved her, and they just she had so much command over the entire family as overall. Nobody questioned her whatsoever. It was just it was just her way. That's it. Nothing is said. And she was just always such a confident woman, and she was always so glamorous. I think that's what I really loved about her, is that as hardworking as crazy she was um from my aunts and my uncles and everybody that lived with her growing up here. She had this nickname that she was the Elizabeth Taylor of the Pacific, because she was always so glamorous and so done up. and she would have her hairs in curls and her makeup and her nice clothes, but she'd be outside doing the yard, and she always looked good no matter what. And she was just incredibly a powerful woman. Like, she didn't have like a whole lot of education with her, but she knew how to figure out what she needed to do if she didn't understand something. And from that, it encouraged me, and it's like this driving force for me to be like, even if I can't figure it out, I know I have the willpower and I know the strength and the abilities to do it. And I remember her just telling me, she's like, I remember her before she passed away. She's like, the like technology is amazing. And like AOL was out, and like not everybody had internet. This is like 93. And she already could see like this is gonna have so much fruitful endeavors for you. You should go and learn everything you possibly can. And I have been addicted. I blame my internet addiction and my need for this from my grandmother. 'Cause she's right. It's like there's so many things that you can learn. Like you have YouTube. If there's something you don't know and you can't go to school for, there is a YouTube tutorial out there somewhere that can teach you to do something. And that's how my grandmother was. She would go to the library and she would read all these books. She like learned all this stuff about fixing cars. Granted, she had 5 husbands. She's like, I don't need no man. I can do this on my own. But she was just this powerful being that was the most supportive of everything that I ever did. And on top of that, like she had the most beautiful ball gowns. I don't know when she found time to compete in ballroom dancing, but I found them, and I wish I was a foot shorter to be able to fit into her dresses. That's all I can say. I'm like, those are gorgeous. And one of my cousins has it, and she just keeps it for storage and just like display. They're just these gorgeous gowns. And I'm like over here, I'm like, I wash my face in the morning.
Big mood.
But that's who it is. And plus on top of that, I think like cooking. I mean, everybody's mothers and grandmothers or something has to be really great cooks, right?
Yep.
So
Yeah,
that's also
that's
another thing that
true.
inspires me is like that's I was also told by that same grandmother is if you're a good cook, your kids always come back home.
Oh, it's
You
true
know,
though.
it is.
My heart.
I wish I could go visit my great grandma. She lives in Panama. She's 97 and she still lives alone and does her thing. Like you would
Yeah.
never know that she was that old. But
Yeah. It's one of the things that you touched on with your grandmother about, always being in command, needing no man, like that was pretty much also my grandmother. She had 11 kids. And so the fact that they always lived close by, always visited her, they never questioned her. Like that is, you're right, an inspiration. Like just to be able to be in control and to be that confident of yourself that nobody questioned you is definitely something that I aspire for.
I think it's not about just wanting to be in charge and boss. It's just that amount that this person
Yeah.
has the right mindset to take care of the family, has your
Yes.
best interests at heart, and is not going to try to screw you up. That's the number one thing. And like I know we say take charge. You and I keep saying taking charge, but
Right.
that's it. That's what it is. It's like like my life is safe and good. Why am I going to question? All right, you're going to go your way. But
Yeah.
that is like the huge thing.
Yeah, it's definitely more just the confidence that they have to be able to do those things is admirable.
It is. And I think that's what I strive for is just to be that. I want my family. I want my like I don't think my sister and my brothers are born kids or plan on having kids. So they always look to me. I'm the oldest, and they always look to me like, "Hey, this happens," and I want to be able to aspire that I meet my grandmothers, like kind of like, okay, my family can depend on me, my friends can depend on me. So yeah, it's a huge thing, and plus, I really wish that my grandparents or even my mom or any of them would teach me how to cook. None of them want to teach me how to cook the food that they good because I try to. They don't come out as good. I'm pretty sure it's because if I knew how to cook, I wouldn't come home.
probably.
Yeah. So this has been great. We had a lot of things, and I love learning about you. And it's for me. We started off just like not knowing who we are and how we touch, and I've always wanted to be able to talk with more Asian content creators. And I feel like for me, that's almost been a hard thing to find and to be a part of. So I'm very appreciative of being able to talk to you, ladies, and share this space with you. And it just feels good.
Nope, I
feeling is
totally
mutual.
agree. Because that was the thing I was explaining to my husband, how one thing I really miss with content creation is finding, somebody who represents me. And I realized more so in the last like 6 months that the best way for me to get that representation is to try to be that representation. And so also being able to meet you guys like that, you guys just, a lot of everything you guys have said through this entire conversation we've been having resonates with me. So like I see a lot of myself in you guys, and it's fucking amazing.
It is. It feels good.
Yeah.
So we do have a little time for Q&A. So if the chat has any questions for us, let us know. Uriah, hello Andrew, my co-host here. He asks, are you ladies embracing the fact that you're a media company? Why or why not?
What?
Thank you.
I'm sorry. I don't understand.
I think, because this is my co-host, I think I understand what the questions is asking. Essentially, as individual content creators, you have your own brand, you have your own name, you're building a reputation. You are essentially your own media company.
Ah.
Oh.
Now I understand.
Are you embracing that fact? And why or not? Why not?
I mean, kind of, because like I said, in the last 6 months is when I kind of realized that I needed to be the representation I wanted to see within my media. And so, like, I know that my name, Idjits Play, doesn't necessarily portray that, but within the channel, I kind of try to highlight that. Like, I bring up how often my brother and I are, half Pacific Islander. I try to talk about my culture. On Twitter every day, I've been trying to post like more information about my culture and some like common misconceptions. And so like I'm embracing it. I think it's the best way to help clear things out and also to just better represent who you are. Because I like some of the things you guys have said is, people always ask these questions like, who are you? And I used to just kind of go with the very dumbed down basics because it fit into their box of what they would be comfortable with. So people are like, oh, what are you? I'm like, oh, I'm Polynesian. But it's like, really, there's 3 different types. There's Polynesian, Micronesian, and Melanesian. And so Micronesian is more what my family identifies with. And so I've made more of an effort to try to like put that out there. And especially with the content creation and embracing my own brand and who I am, it has helped me feel more comfortable and more confident just being like, no, this is who I am and you need to learn that. Like, I'm not going to fit into a box that you refuse to leave.
That's a great answer.
I feel like I can never go after her. Like, just put a fork in me, okay?
2 forks, please. 2 forks.
I think she spoke for everyone, on behalf of Asian American Pacific Islander Heritage Month, I believe. Okay? Let me just make that clear.
Chanzlyn is just going to speak for the rest of us from now on. She's our representation.
But you guys inspired me. So come on now. We are a team.
Yeah.
I think
no, that was a good question.
It was. So you have an answer then there, Gongjulee?
I do. The answer is yes. It's not as eloquent, but I do embrace it. But yeah, no, because like for me, like I started streaming because just to de-stress and to make friends, and then it evolved into wanting more representation, like meeting other people who are like me, and then it just started from like, okay, well, let me start for being the thing that I want to see more of, and then through that I was able to connect and meet more like-minded people, not only just like personality-wise. I'm like, oh hey, you look like me, that's great, fantastic. But yeah, I definitely embrace it, for sure. It's evolved from where it first started, but from where I am now, it's most definitely I embrace the brand that is me, because it helps me with not only just, I guess, the whole like Twitch game or whatever, but just it also helps me more solidify my confidence in my identity with my heritage. So. TLDR, yes.
And she is just like, yes, what she said too.
Yeah, yeah, like my channel is very much so Hawaiian themed, and I'm trying to do that on purpose to let people know that I am not like what they think I am. I have like a FAQ section, and I answer like a bunch of questions and stuff about me and what I am and what I do and stuff. But am I really embracing it though? I say that I have to, because if not, the internet would tear me apart. Because people like to assume things, and they like to come in and they like to troll and they like to bully. Despite I have everything there, the neon signs with arrows pointing to something, but the trolls, they don't care. So I have to embrace it. I have to make a voice for myself because no one else will. So yeah.
Yep.
Not as elaborate as her answer, but
Oh, still just as great.
I
I love it.
Even though it's my co-host, I think I should still answer. I do, in a way, I guess, because I'm still trying to figure out what or who my brand is still, as I figure out who and what I am. Originally, when I started streaming, I wanted just to be an advocate for just women in general, because when you started streaming, it was a lot of male streamers, a lot, and like there really wasn't a lot of female streamers at that time, and if they were, they didn't really have the courage to put their voice out there, get alone a cam. I'm talking about like 2011 to 2013 here. Like having a cam was a huge deal, and um, I feel like there's just having that strong, confident female personality out there, and that's why I love girl streamers. Is just that you're just encouraging women to be who they are, and you be that support if they get trolls that have just ruined their days, and then give them advice and just feel confident. And now we're at a point in 2019 with content creation period where there's a lot of strong women out there and a lot to look up forward to. But now I'm just finding myself wanting to narrow that down, and just like you ladies, of like, okay, I want to talk to the Asian community, I want to talk to the Filipino community and the Chinese community, because I have a hard time finding that, and just creating something with them, even if it's just playing games or talking or just bouncing ideas off of them. Like I feel like that inspiration and that encouragement just brews more positivity, um, a stronger connection with people, and that's kind of where I want to go and where I'm growing to. I'm just kind of figuring out like how do I get to that point. Like I know I'm just like putting myself out, like we all starting right here, and we're just talking about who we are, and that's a great starting point, and where to grow and grow from that. That's part I'm still trying to like, how do I want to navigate this? What's the best way for me to put that forward that speaks to me and my brand and who I am?
Mm.
That's that's the part that I'm like, I feel like a toddler learning to walk.
Well, we all have to learn how to walk before we can run, as they say.
Another question is, how do you ladies handle adversity on stream? Start with Shimi.
why me?
Because you say you can't go after me, so
But why?
because
You said
now
it.
I can't go after you, so let's do it.
How do I handle it? That's a very, what's the word I'm looking for? I can't speak. I've got the dumbs. I don't know what to do. How do I handle it? I don't know. I don't let it bother me, honestly. I've learned after many, many, many years of streaming, not I learned how to take what people say with a grain of salt, and I've learned how to have tough skin, because I feel like you have to be a really miserable person to want to ruin someone's day that you don't even know. you just see someone living their best life on their channel and having fun, and you're trying really hard just to make someone else feel bad. Like, I don't understand. I can't understand it because I'm not the type of person. But before, I will admit that it used to bother me, but now I just kind of play games with them, and I just kind of make them feel bad. And I'm just like, hey, this is a open space. We're all happy to have you here, welcome you with open arms. Like, you can go to the back. You see that table over there? It's full of your favorite snacks. Like, you can go have some. Like, be cool. You can make some friends, or you can get banned. Like, that's basically the long and the short of it. That's how I handle it now. It's like, I give them a chance, and I'm like, hey, be cool, or you can go kick rocks. Like, pick one. I don't know. I don't know if there's a better way to handle it. Before, I used to get really upset and I would ban instantly and not even pay them any attention. But now I call them out. And I'm like, did someone spit in your coffee this morning? Do you need a hug? Because I like giving hugs. So if that's all you need, let me know and I can do that for you. Or you can leave. Like, I don't know. That's just been my way to handle it. So maybe I'll learn something from you guys.
Gongjulee?
I handle it in a very similar manner. It's just joke, because for me, I don't care if they're saying like horrible things to me. I guess where I kind of get a little touchy is when they start like attacking my viewers, who I consider my friendos. So that's where I get a little bit more like I guess sassy about it, and then that's when I like kind of troll back and then ban them, because ultimately they're getting banned no matter what. But I'm like, well, let me have a little fun at your expense, since you're determined to like take your anger or however they're feeling out on my friends. Because for me, it's just like, oh, it's me, whatever. I personally don't care. I've learned to have really thick skin, and I heard everything under the sun. So I was like, okay, yeah, that's whatever. But if they're really creative with it, then I'll be like, oh, not her. How did you come up with that one? And then I ban them. But it's just, I don't know. You have to get busy, and I apologize for swearing, but I don't know how else to describe it. You have to learn to get to the level of giving zero fucks, because when you get there, there's a sense of freedom that you just don't get when you care. I know this sounds really bad, but if you just let yourself go in regards to like, hey, these people, they're not really mad at you. They're just, for some reason, they're just projecting their anger for whatever they're mad about onto you. It's kind of like water off a duck's back. You're just like, oh, that has nothing to do with me. Like, you're not part of this world, and I don't want to give you inclusion into it. So peace out. That's kind of my thing. But I feel that thick skin, or that kind of mentality needs to be built up over time. Because like when I first started streaming, I got bombarded with all these trolls, and it bothered me for a while because I didn't know how to get rid of them. But once I figured it out, then it helped me as each one of these trolls kept coming back. I always handled a little bit better and a little bit better and a little bit better as each one, until I got to the point where I like, okay, now I just don't care. Oh, like what's happening, but I'm not going to let you ruin the good time that my viewers are having with me as we're all hanging out together. So see ya, kind of feels. That's how I handle adversity. I don't let it affect me anymore. So, but it took time. Like, I know that's like it doesn't seem like it took a long time for me to get there, but I'm happy I finally got there.
Yeah, I like that. Just a side note, I'm so sorry for the times that I've cussed in this stream. I didn't realize. Mobby.
It's okay. It's been really hard on me restraining myself too, because I'm like, this is like my second language, and I'm trying to like not speak.
My bad. Back to the topic. So I sometimes, like, depending on how or whatever it is they say is phrased, I try to give a benefit of the doubt, because it comes from me having lived like the later half of my life in the US, especially mostly in the Midwest, where I'm around dominantly like, Caucasian people. And so for a long time, especially through school, I saw things through like the eyes of the Caucasian folks. Like there are things at the time in high school where I didn't like question it. I would have an awkward laugh about something, but I couldn't explain why that thing made me uncomfortable. But now, having left school, expanded to being able to connect with people on the internet and understanding the different cultures and starting to see like, oh shit, that's why that's a bad thing. And now I know. So it was definitely like a growth for me to get to where I am now, to where if somebody says something and it seems like maybe it's not like they didn't intend it to be mean, I'm going to ask them about it. And depending on their answer, like maybe this will be a chance for me to help educate them, because that's something I wish I had when I was in high school, was having more people of color around to educate me on why something is, a difficult situation, why this is just a bad thing, versus just someone outright like, oh, you're, garbage, I'm just going to ban you right away. It's like, it all just comes down to how they phrase whatever it is they're saying. Like, it's obvious when someone's being a troll, and it's more obvious when somebody is asking a question and they clearly just do not get it. So for the most part, I have like a low, like no bullshit, low tolerance in people just being outright ignorant or difficult. But if somebody seems like they genuinely are trying to learn or understand, then I will go out of my way to help them understand, because that just means more allies for our community and more people that understand our struggle, or at least have a better idea of it.
So I get to be the rare one where I hardly ever get trolled. I think there's 3 streams out of my entire year that I'll have a troll. And
So lucky.
I'm
yeah,
quite
I get to be
envious.
that rare one.
I
But
haven't really gotten
I
any
really,
trolls.
I really don't. I mean, there'll be people who come in with really bad jokes, but they're not really. And maybe that's also kind of me. Maybe I'm just kind of oblivious because I don't really care what people say. There's nothing that can be said to me or done or anything like that that's trolly in nature that I really registers as being trolly. Okay, the only thing that can be said to me that really hurts and that would really, really upset me is near impossible to even ever make happen. If any of my grandparents came out and said, I'm so disappointed in you, that's literally the only thing that will hurt me. That really is. I'm sorry. Like if I had to hear that and they came in and it's like, and my grandparents for some reason just, revived and came into my stream and said, I'm so disappointed in you, I would stop streaming, period. But I don't know. I think it's because I already was raised to give 0 Fs about everything. Even offline, even going to Twitch cons or going to events, and people are just kind of want to, like, they bring that trolling nature with them because let's face it, Twitch can be really clicky. It's this popularity contest, and like they'll look at you like, oh, you only have that. That really bother me. And I was just lucky that I had some really, really hard ass parents, grandparents, and families that are very, very, very plentiful of constructive criticism. And got to the point where just like as an adult, like, eh, all right. Sucks to be you. I'm a glorious person to have in your life. You're missing out. And that's how I continue on. I'm like, all right, well, if that's what you're gonna be, sorry that you can't have me in your life. That's kind of how I deal with it. Probably not the greatest answer there, but that's it. I was like, I don't really have a really good answer. I don't have any techniques. I'm just like, sucks for you.
No, I think the biggest thing I got from all 4 of us is that if it's about us specifically, we're just like, whatever. That doesn't bother me. It doesn't faze me. But obviously, if they're attacking people that we're friends with, our family, we're gonna
I'm
fight.
Filipino. I got a lot of knives. Okay.
Really?
I do. Actually, I have a sword next to my desk too. I actually have a knife right here too. So yes, I also got a couple machetes. Got it.
Behave or else I'll cut you.
William says that through our time on streaming, from all of us, what makes us love streaming?
Hmm.
Shimi. So that she can
Yes.
You can stop saying nodding and yesing. We're gonna start with you.
You started me last time. Okay. They're out of my time streaming. What makes you love streaming? I love it because it gives me to be able to connect with viewers like you. I like making friendships. So I have terrible answers. They're so like cut and dry, but
I have cut and dry answers too because you stole mine.
But I feel like I always had a hard time making friends in person because I guess I'm weird. I don't know. Nobody liked me growing up. I was that kid that was always by herself, eating lunch by herself. And I don't know why, because I think I'm pretty cool, right? But yeah, streaming has opened up many doors to meet other people who are like-minded and that are also very different. Because I think getting to know someone who's different than you is good for your growth as a human, but it also keeps the variety and the spice of your life like different. So it's never a dull moment when I'm streaming. Oh, thanks, Gracie. I think I'm cool too.
You are. Gongjulee? You just gotta
Yeah,
nod and say yes.
that's pretty much what's about to happen. Because no, the reason why I streaming so much is just because I get to hang out with my friends here, and that's the whole reason. Well, I can't say whole reason. It was definitely 50% of the reason why I joined Twitch in the first place, or why I started regularly streaming. It's just I wanted to make friends that are outside of my roommate because I just got caught in this loop of just going to work and coming home, and I couldn't break it for the longest time. And so it wasn't until I started streaming I was able to meet other, wonderful, fabulous, kind, and generous people that were just really fun to hang out with and just always took my mind off work and helped me de-stress. So for me, what always keeps me streaming, even when I'm like, oh, I don't really feel like streaming, but I'm like, well, I really want to hang out with someone today, is because I want to meet and hang out with my friends. And well, that's you guys. So that's what keeps me in the streaming game, I guess.
So for streaming, so like I streamed off and on for a long while, and that's just because I just didn't know what I was doing and I didn't have an idea of where I wanted to go with it. But after my mom had passed away, I didn't have a close relationship with her, but something about that just kind of impacted me deeply. And my husband started streaming just because he was watching streamers and he thought it'd be fun to do. And so when I was watching him stream, I was like, maybe that's something I can do that can help like distract me and kind of like keep me going forward instead of me like sitting in a corner and like spiraling. And so he stopped streaming because he just it wasn't going in any direction that he really cared. But I kept going with it because through streaming, I've essentially, found an online family that I can talk to about the things that were going on with me. Because being able to not only discuss like being a person of color and finding other people of color that understand my struggles and being able to relate and just be able to feel each other on a deeper level rather than just on a surface level, I can also openly discuss with my friends that I've met online, like my mental illness issues that I've had, like the depression that I've gone through. And so streaming essentially helped me get out of that. And it also helps recharge my energy. Like at the end of a stream, I feel just better. Like I feel like I have more energy to be able to go focus on something else. I feel recharged as a person because having the viewership of people who are streamers and people who are just there to hang out have, you guys have become a family, and I just feel better doing it.
I think we can all agree. It's like it's the people. It really is. I mean, if it was just because because I can play games online, we can do that by ourselves, like couch with no pants on and just feel great.
Truth.
But it's the people. It always been will be, and I think that has to be essentially one of the top priorities as a streamer is that you're doing it for the people. You're not doing it for fame. You're not doing it for like instant money. It's like you have to love the people or care about the people who come and watch you because they're investing their own time to be there with you, to hang out with you, to build this friendship, to build this relationship and family with them.
Speak for
So,
yourself. I'm doing this for fame, okay?
oh, okay. I'm sorry.
No, I'm
She's
just
doing
kidding.
it for fame.
I'm just kidding.
I'm sorry. Miss Hollywood Shimi over here is doing it for fame. I'm sorry. I
can't hear
misspoke.
you. I can't hear you through the shades that I'm wearing.
Girl, I can't.
Everything. Those rose-colored glasses.
Literally rose colored. You can talk to my star, my publicist, whatever you call them.
Oh my god.
His name is Moose. He's right there.
But like really, if it wasn't for them, none of us would be where we're at and doing what we do and finding, our purpose as content creators. So it's for me, I think that's like the simple answer. It's for the people. Always. I don't know how much more time we have, Danny. Are we? I know we keep talking. I don't want to stop talking to you, ladies. It's great. If not, I'm just gonna keep asking these questions that are in chat here.
We can keep talking about rice if you'd like.
Lots of rice.
I'll go back to that conversation.
Did you guys put vinegar in your rice all the time?
Not all the time. It just depends if I'm looking for a different flavor.
Yeah, it depends.
Yeah, it depends on my mood and what I want.
Sometimes I put vinegar.
Gosh, I don't know.
Especially if I know I need that rice to last for a while.
Yeah, I love vinegar.
Oh, chicken
right now.
adobo. Chicken
Is
adobo.
my
just
comfort
adobo,
food
period.
for days.
Adobo, period. Just vinegar. I think that's like that need all and everything.
Yup.
And then
I have
side
to
of
cook it when my
kimchi.
husband isn't home because he hates the smell of vinegar.
What?
I know.
What?
He's trash that way.
I don't know about this husband of yours.
I
Your
promise.
rice
I
cooker.
promise. He's really great. He just does not like adobo.
He doesn't like adobo. He doesn't like your rice cooker.
I know.
What else doesn't he like? I'm about to meet this man and be like,
I'll get back to you. I'll get a list just for you.
just for me. Okay.
Okay, so answer questions. Okay, I know I saw one up here. Chan's question: what's the worst experience you had in a game?
It depends. I have a lot of them. I don't play games to win. I play games to see how much I lose. No, like I have a highlight that's like one of my favorite things of Stardew Valley, where I rage quit fishing in Stardew Valley, and it's just like you can rage quit in Stardew Valley. I'm like, trust, I can do this.
What? I didn't even. I was gonna ask you, like, you can do that. Lovely question. What games do you stream? I know it's not horror.
Yeah, it's not. Actually, I was looking for that clip because you were saying, like, what is the worst moment that you've ever had in a game? Mine was definitely when I was playing Gyomawari. And if you guys don't know what that is, it's an indie game and it's a horror game about these two little girls who are lost in the city. I believe it's in Japan. And the little girl lost her dog. So the big sister is like, "Oh, I'm gonna go out and help you find the dog. So tell me how." Let me back up. Like that wasn't the full story. Okay, so she's out with the dog. The dog's playing fetch. The girl throws the little thing down, and out of nowhere, the dog went to go retrieve the thing and got hit by a bus and just murdered. And I was just like, it was a tutorial on teaching you how to throw something. That's how you learn. You lost
that was
your
a tutorial?
dog. Yes, and
I would turn it off and not play it anymore.
I'm looking
done.
for the clip because it was just terrible. It was terrible, and plus the whole game was scary, and I don't do well with scary games. And
Oh my god.
I feel you.
yeah, I'm trying to find it though. Like, you guys can keep talking. I'm gonna keep scrolling.
This is a very serious question, so I'm going to give this to Gongjulee because she didn't get a question. So, do you believe it's essential to build up your weaknesses or strengthen your strength?
build up your weaknesses. That's not even, yeah. Like, I think it's always good to, know what your strengths are and definitely always hone them when you can. But I think it's even more important to know what your weaknesses are so you can be stronger and that no longer be a weakness of yours. So I would put priority on strengthening your weaknesses than honing on your strengths.
Okay, side question to that one is, what do you think is one of your weaknesses right now?
And like as a person or like as a streamer? What's the context?
Let's go with the streamer. Let's go with the streamer.
For sure, as a streamer, one of my weaknesses is that I don't promote myself. Like in regards to like getting my name out there, like I'm hella lazy when it comes to that, unfortunately. Like I could be coming up with a lot of like these overlay graphics and banners, emotes, and like social media presence, but trying to balance that with like my work and then my personal time that I want to have to myself. And I know I'm really selfish with that. It's just kind of like, it's kind of hard finding that balance, but I know it's very important in regards to like growth and meeting new people. So I do want to put more priority on that, but I admit that is a weakness that I would like to work on as I continue to grow as a streamer.
Are you actually me though?
Maybe you are looking into a webcam mirror. So.
Because hot damn, you just hit my life.
Yeah, right. Oh my goodness. Okay, question that was posed to me: what is my favorite food? That's really hard for me to do because initially my answer was going to be rice because it just goes with everything.
But for real though.
but for real, it kind of is. But as a not cheap answer, something that I can eat a lot of and not get tired is probably amazingly. There's two different dishes actually. One, I really like tripe stew, but I can't cook it because it smells really bad when you're cooking it. The other thing that I can really eat that, again, and I don't think too many of my Filipino friends like to eat, is called Ramadan, which is blood meat or blood pudding, however way you want to put it. It's just pretty much pork meat cooked in pig's blood. And I eat that over a bed of rice. So, yeah, that would be it. And then to follow up for all of us, do we put soy sauce or shoyu on our rice?
I'm like,
I don't.
Sometimes, if it's sweet soy sauce, I will.
If it's for sushi, yes. But it's not like I put it on. I dip it in, but yeah. I don't put shoyu on my rice.
It depends on what I'm eating. Because if I have like a food that is sauce based, then I just use the sauce, whatever that is. Like if I have a steak, the juices from the steak just kind of like mix in with the rice real nicely. But if I'm having like scrambled eggs and rice, I'm going to cover that bitch in soy sauce.
I'm strictly team no soy sauce. This is like I can't have it on my rice. Right? So mad when someone like already like just does it for me and then just puts my like soy sauce on my rice. I'm like, what the hell are you doing? Like you just ruined rice.
No, get out of here.
Yeah, like it reminds me like, and I know like that was how I felt like when that scene and that what is it, Joy Luck Club, and then the guy, like the husband guy, just ended up pouring like soy sauce all over the rice, and I'm like, oh my god, he's forever hated for all of life. He should never have done that. So, but I understand that's just something I can't do, but. I respect those who does it, I guess. We all have our eating choices.
Those who do. I look at them with judging eyes and disappointment.
I try to be nice, but yeah, no, it's very accurate. I was just you don't know how to eat rice.
No, when I was like, so we were super, super poor as a kid. Like for part of my childhood, we lived in a cave poor. And one of my desserts was rice with soy sauce and sugar.
Ooh, I used to do that, and I used to add a little bit of butter to it and mix it up.
Yes, I used to eat that too.
It's so good.
Oh man.
Well, that's different. That's different. If you're cooking it into the rice, that's different.
Yeah, but like this is like pouring it over the rice. That's very.
Oh my gosh! I don't like coat it. I do the thing where you put the finger on one end of the soy sauce bottle and you do little like dips of it. Yeah, I'm not those crazy people who are just like, let me just pour this and it just like 5 tablespoons on your 1 cup of rice. I'm like, who the fuck are you?
My roommate. Oh man, I have 2 roommates, and one of my roommates, he does that every single time he orders like rice. Like we eat Chinese food together, and then he has the rice and then he gets like 5 like soy sauce packages, and then he takes the soy sauce packages and he just puts it all over his rice like consistently. I'm like, why do you do that? Why do you have to have the soy sauce on your rice? It's like, this is just because I love the way it tastes. I can't
At
eat
that
it
point,
without the
just
soy
put
sauce.
salt on your rice.
No!
Like,
Yes!
Right?
Yes!
sir, I need you to pump
But,
the brakes.
Yeah, but now I just don't eat Chinese food.
This makes rice so much harder to eat because it's just kind of falling apart. Like you have to go grain by
Yes.
grain. Like what's wrong with you? Do you want to work that hard?
Yup. No,
Yeah.
mine's just like little bits that I mixed in, and it's like barely there. It's just a nice little flavor. No, I don't want soup.
Do you guys put egg on your rice though? Sometimes.
Yes.
Oh yeah,
Like I do.
Like
Like,
a
as a
yeah, like a
snack.
fried egg. Yeah.
No.
I do all
Like
eggs.
a raw egg?
I do a raw egg.
Oh
Oh
no,
no.
Not that I'm judging you. I just don't trust myself to not get salmonella because I have terrible
no.
luck.
Yeah. One of my Japanese exchange students showed me that, and I tried it, and it was actually really good. It was egg, soy sauce, and little seaweed flakes on top. So good.
Yum.
That sounds
I'll-
delicious. I will never try it.
Yep.
I wouldn't. I do put seaweed. Well, it's furikake, and it's like seaweed, sesame seasoning stuff on top of my rice. I'll do that.
Yes.
Yeah.
I have this one friend, and he's like addicted to shoyu. He won't put it on his rice, which is great, but like he'll put it on everything else. I cooked eggs Benedict, and I made him this thing, and then he put like just shoyu all over it. I'm like,
On eggs Benedict.
what are you doing? Like, there's already enough salt in that, and he's like, oh, it's really good. I'm like, I don't know what's wrong with you. You're done. We're done.
No,
Do you want me
thank
to just get you a salt rock for your lunch? Like, damn.
Oh
Ugh.
my god. We should just have a whole show and just write. Just write.
We really could.
We can
We'll
call it
I'll
cooking
make
with
different rice and describe it. Yep.
Gracie asks, what is one thing you've always wanted to cook but never gotten around to it? Anything that my grandmother cooks, because I can't make it good at all. She won't teach me her recipes. I try to watch. I'm pretty sure she purposely leaves things out, and then when I'm not looking, adds them in. I do. I really do, because I've tried cooking her stuff, and I'm writing out all of these instructions, writing down, making notes, everything she did. I'll cook it at home. I'm like, this is terrible. Like, there's something missing. I don't know what it is. I swear that's what she does.
Yeah, I think mine's kind of in the same vein as my family out in the islands. They cook like, parrotfish and ribs, and they have like all these different sauces, and it's all family recipes. And so I don't have that, and I haven't cooked any of it. And so I'm just like, but I need it, except I have to go to the islands to get it.
And that's where they get you.
Yep.
That's
And
where they
same
get
with the
you.
family too. When I ask them like, hey, what is the recipe for this? Like, I don't know. I just put stuff together. I'm like,
Oh yeah,
sir.
and they don't. Me, I need the measurements.
Yep.
I do. I'm the type that need measurements. They're like, just
Yep.
eyeball it. Like, boop. Like, what do you mean? How much is a boop?
Well, you know that a boop is 2 bits of a scoopity scoop. That's how they do it. Come on now, everyone knows
You're right,
that.
though.
Oh, it's funny.
What about you, Andrew? Anything that you would like to cook and you haven't gotten around to it, or learn to cook?
For me, there's 2 dishes. Like, one is for my mom, and there's like this budae-jjigae. It's like this like army like Korean stew thing that she makes. I've like, of all the dishes I try to reattempt and create that I saw her do, that's the one I haven't tried yet because it's just like I don't know how she do it. So that's one. And then the other one is my grandmother's gumbo. Like I personally don't like gumbo, but I just want to be able to make the gumbo so my family has a reason to come see me because they love my grandmother's gumbo. They go like out of their way to go get some grandma's gumbo, and I'm like, if I just learn how to make that, then they will make the effort to come see me in California instead of saying like, oh hey, just come to us in Wisconsin. And I'm like, oh, because they only did it like once. They only came out once, and that's when like my baby sister made her move out here, and I'm like, I've been out here for like 8 years before she moved. What's the difference? So
See, we're
So, yeah.
learning. We just got to cook better food, and then people come and see us.
yeah, that's pretty much
Okay,
my
we're learning.
goals.
Shimi?
I don't know. because anything
Anything.
I do want, I just make it. So I don't know. There's something that I have been craving for a while that I haven't made, but it's not Asian or Hawaiian inspired. It is very, I don't even know what you would quantify it as. I make a homemade pesto by hand and grilled
Oh,
chicken in it
Whoa.
I
and
love
make it
pesto.
into a pasta. And
Yes.
it's really good. I mean, it's not as cool as your guys' answers again, but it is
No,
delicious.
but we love pesto though.
yeah.
Yeah.
Like
it's
we're all
homemade
on team
pesto?
pesto.
Like I love
Yeah.
making pesto stuffed mushrooms.
Yeah, and I make it all by hand because I find like if you put the basil inside of a food processor, the heat of it, when it spins, it draws out too much of the oil and it makes it bitter. So if you like use a mortar and pestle and squish it up by hand, it tastes a lot better. It's a
Ooh.
pro tip.
Yeah.
Well, we can just go over there and you can make it for us, and we'll do the rest ASMR.
Hey.
I might also add that I was classically trained as a chef. After high school, I went to culinary school by a 5-star chef who was our teacher. So I like to dabble and make a lot of things. But lately, I've been a little lazy. And since I've been back in Vancouver, I'm like, let's just go out to eat. In fact,
Party at Shimi's.
That's what I hear. That's all I hear.
That's all I hear.
I'm debating if I want, before Game of Thrones starts, I'm debating if I want to go out and get pho or if I want to go out and get poke.
Fuck.
Both.
Both.
Ooh.
Why not? Because one's
Yeah,
in
sure.
one
I mean,
direction and the other.
both.
I say both. See, Gracie says both too. All right, so we're gonna leave this as our last question. This one comes from Denny, and it's a great question. If Twitch came to us asking how to make the platform better for people like us, what would we tell them? Gongjulee. Won't do that to you, Shimi.
Okay, yeah, no worries. And if Twitch asks me that, I think I would give like kind of like a 2-part answer. The first one would just be having more, I guess, inclusive events, the kind of like the whole front page thing. Like I think that's really, really important to showcase different types of like Asian Americans, because I know like they tried or are trying, I should say, but I don't see him being as prominent. So I think more events like that on a more frequent basis would definitely be very beneficial. The second part to that, where I think Twitch could be improved, is definitely in their moderation, to be more preventive than reactive to a lot of like the negative or the toxicity that happens with streamers in general, but more specifically persons of colors for sure. So I think if they were able to improve their moderation system, be more proactive in that regard, it would definitely be a better experience for not just all streamers on the Twitch platform, but specifically, minorities and like, Black, Asian American, like Spanish, Arabic, all of it. So that will be my 2-part answer to that, if Twitch ever cared to ask me that question.
Shimi?
Yeah. I would say what Twitch can do right away to make Twitch a better place is to give someone else a chance, that opportunity. I feel like we keep seeing the same 5 people that kind of look the same, and they're always at every event. They're always on every Twitch commercial. They're always everywhere. They're plastered everywhere, and I don't know why, because sometimes when I go into their streams and I go and watch them, it's like watching the paint dry on the walls. They have no personality. I don't understand. How did they get there? What did they do? Whose soul did they sell? What firstborn child did they give? I don't know, but they need to give someone else, like people like us, a chance to shine. We need opportunity.
Yeah,
Yes.
mine kind of like piggybacks off of both of you guys. Like, one, the moderation definitely could be a lot better, because I know that us 4 have talked about how we have thick skin, but obviously not everybody is like us. And if you have a platform that's going to keep presenting itself as toxic, it's going to drive away people like us, because those toxicity things tend to be aimed towards us, be it because we're people of color or be it because we're women. Like both sides is just, rough. And then the other part of it is the feature thing. Like we shouldn't have to wait till February to feature like our Black people, our Black streamers, or wait until May to feature more Asian American Pacific Islanders. Like you guys, they do a ton of other events throughout the year, and I still only see non-people of color featured on those platforms. And I'm just kind of like, but have you guys tried though? Like you don't really have to go far to really try to find more people to feature that aren't the same 5 faces.
So I think mine is a very in-depth, heavy thing that's like almost in complete reform of what Twitch is. A lot of the changes that I would love to see in Twitch is not just heavily on Twitch itself, it's also on the people they choose to be their partners. To me, what a Twitch partner is this highlight of a person that is a good representation of what Twitch is. And I don't know all of the Twitch partners are out there. I don't pay attention to them. I pay attention to the people who, are growing like I am, and they deserve my attention. But I think the only really Twitch partner that I know is of Asian descent is possibly Anthony Kungfun. And even among partners, like he does a lot of stuff, but I don't even think he gets nearly as much attention as the Caucasian partner streamers. But like with that, I feel like if you're choosing to add this person as a partner under the Twitch flag, I think it's also great to kind of almost have like a big brother, little sister, whatever it is, partnership. And whereas you have people of color who are working with up and coming streamers, give them guidance and kind of partner with them in a way of like, this is what's working out for us. This is who we should showcase, and reach out to those partners of color and of whatever ethnicity it may be, and be like, hey, within your community, like who should we be focusing on? Who should we bring forward? And we should be also the advocates for ourselves. It's a huge community thing. It's like it's a strength by numbers thing. It's not a popularity contest. But we know who are really good content creators. We know within our community who deserves that attention and is putting in that hard work. And we should be able to use our voice with Twitch to be able to influence that and for them to be willing to listen. And like I know that's like almost nearly impossible to happen with Twitch because it's been around for so long and they're so stuck in their ways of how they do things. But that's like a huge thing, I think, to me. Yeah, and like Chan says, is that we really shouldn't be having to wait to a specific month that is just like in honor of this. It should be, they should also be able to look at like, okay, who's applying for front page? Let's try to mix it up. Let's change who's up there. There, I mean, even amongst partners, there's still up and coming partners that are still very fresh and new. Like they deserve some of that time too. And it shouldn't just be like, here's Ninja. Oh, here's Ninja again. Oh, look, more Ninja. Like there's so much more, and I think it just falls onto everybody's responsibility to be able to be like, hey, you know what? Maybe I should, like, I've had my spotlight. I will continue to have my spotlight, and they shouldn't feel threatened that it's going to be taken away from them. It's like, hey, this person deserves some attention too. Partners have the ability to do that. They just choose not to. And I think that is a poor representation of what you should be having representing your brand.
Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah, I really like that.
But it has been great talking with you, ladies. It's been like, what, 2.5 hours?
Yeah, we definitely went over for sure.
Smidge.
And I think somebody said we've been talking great. It's like 45 minutes of it. I don't know. That seems like an exaggeration, but at the same time, it also sounds like a fact.
It's like I need somebody to go in and clip all the parts about rice and put it together so we can know for sure.
Please, someone.
The amount of times that rice was referred to at any one time. So if you guys go ahead and give yourself, your whole spiel, your social media, where we can find you. Whoever wants to start.
Shimi, go.
You can find me on my two-way, aka Twitter account at LovelyShimi. Same spelling and everything. Also, you can find me here on Twitch, LovelyShimi. Well, I don't really have a schedule though because I just got a new job and it's all over the place. So hopefully I will tweet before I go live and you guys can then follow me there.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Name's Gongjulee, I guess. I'm most active on social media, even though I'm lazy about it. On Twitter, which you can find me with at lunar_reim, REIM. It's from back when I was in 3rd grade. Just stuck and never gonna change it. But and then obviously you can catch me on Twitch, which is Gongjulee. That one is a little bit more easier to remember. I tend to stream late at night because I'm on the West Coast, so usually about 9 p.m. Pacific Standard Time is usually when I start going. I try to stream every day, but you'll mostly catch me Monday through Friday. And I play a variety of games. And again, I swear like a sailor, look like a mermaid. It's great. You should join in. You'll be mildly entertained.
Oh my god, I love
your
that.
slogan.
I'm gonna steal that. I'm gonna make it a t-shirt. It's so good. Like I have a t-shirt that says like train like a beast to look like a lady, but now I like that one's better. So. So Twitch is the only account that I have that is a different name than what I usually use. So it's Idjits Play, IDJITS Play. And otherwise, everything else, literally Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, what have you. You can just type in Chanzlyn, which is right above my little box here, and come hang out. I'm really active on Instagram. You'll actually find 2 different accounts with Chanzlyn. One is Chanzlyn, the other one is Lucky Chanzlyn. One is my cosplay account, and the other one is my food account. So take your pick.
Ooh, food. Before I even give all these things up, any of you ladies participating in St. Jude, you want to do any of those?
I am.
Promoting?
I am participating. Yeah, I think us as a group for the cookout, we already hit our goal, so we're raising it a bit. So
Awesome.
there's Denny there with that plug. Thank you very much, sir. Yeah, I'm doing all kinds of weird things for incentives and milestones. So be sure to help spread the word. If you guys can't donate, just share it on your social media. Let everyone else see it, and those who can donate can.
Microwave cereal?
Yes! Fruity Pebbles or Honey Bunches of Oats? I don't know yet. Look at her face. She's like,
I'm trying to wrap my mind around microwave cereal, and it's just not working right now. So
yeah, I'm glad you and me are on the same page. I'm thinking like warm milk.
Does it does it pop like popcorn? Like what? I
don't know yet. I haven't done it, so we'll find out. We have to donate in order to get me to that goal. So do it, and then I can let you guys know. Actually, okay. Yesterday on my dancing segment, when Denny said that we reached our goal, I took out this fruit that I plan to save for later, but it looked like one of the dragon eggs from Game of Thrones. And ooh. It was terrifying to look at. It kind of looked like a durian, and I know durian, and I love durian, personally.
I do too.
It's delicious as ice cream. Oh my god. Okay, let me not talk about it. Okay, so this dragon egg fruit, Jenny's like, hey, we hit the goal, so I brought it out, and I started cutting it, and when I cut it, it was just like, I was like, oh, that's great. I cut it open, and I'm looking at it, my lips quivering, because I don't want to taste it, and then I take one little bite, and it ended up being the most delicious fruit I've ever had in my life.
But you don't know what it is?
They called it a sugar apple.
A sugar apple?
Yeah. It was so good. And like after I ended the stream, I just started. I have to go.
Oh.
Wow.
Summerstop. I what that is. That
No,
is delicious.
Not a soursop. It's a cousin of a soursop. Like
Sweet sop.
they
Hmm.
what's the word I'm looking for? They hybridized it, and they got all weird with it. So it kind of looks like a soursop in the sense of the seeds are big and black, right? But it tasted so good. I hope like I can find more of it. Maybe they'll make a shake out of it, or I'll make a shake out of it. It was so good.
Oh my gosh. But yeah,
Did
you're
you
right. It
guys-
definitely looks like a dragon egg for sure.
It does. I was like Khaleesi when I found it.
And when you hatched it, it was mush.
Yeah, it was mush, and I was like, pine nuts when I looked at it. Kind of like an
Okay.
atamoya is what it's called. Atamoya.
That's a little harder for to say. I like sweet sop. That's easier.
Yeah, sounds good.
Dragon egg is also
Sugar.
easier.
Yeah, sugar apple.
All right. All right. So for me, everything I'm easy. I'm really super easy to quote unquote stalk. I am Miss DJM on literally everything. Everybody asks, "Oh, what does that stand for?" They're literally just my initials. I can't think of names to save my life. If you ever come to my stream and I have character creation and I'm sitting on the selection screen, most of the chances you expect the first 2 hours of me creating my character, so I can go through every variance of what I think looks great, and then about 45 minutes of that is me like, what should I name her?
Same.
So expect that. You can find everything. Just Miss DJM. I usually stream Hawaii time. Like you think you stream late for West Coast time. Hawaii time, I'm 3 hours further behind. It is currently only 1:42 in the afternoon for me.
What? That's so
Yes.
early.
So I usually stream Hawaii time Tuesdays, Thursdays, Fridays, and Saturdays. This one's been a little bit weird for me because for St. Jude, I've been doing 12-hour streams on Saturdays. So I spend my Fridays getting ready and prepared for all of those things. But I start at 8 p.m. my local time, which is about 2 a.m. Eastern time. So I get all the insomniacs or the people from Singapore, and I learn about them. It's all awesome. I play a bunch of indie games. Like I don't know. I like play a smorgasbord of games, but the one consistent thing is definitely Beat Saber and just indie titles. And that's it. I'm on Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, everywhere. So it has been a pleasure chatting with y'all and having us here on the Cookout channel. And if you guys
Hell
haven't and you're here and you're new or you're from any of our communities, be sure to follow the Cookout channel. Go and check out all the stuff that they have. You can check out the cookout.org, their Patreon. They're doing amazing stuff. We are going to go raid. I don't know who we're raiding, but we do not observe daylight savings whatsoever. Daylight savings does not exist for us.
I need that to disappear from here.
We finally passed like a law in California to like get rid of like a
Ah.
bill. Like, and like we all voted like, hey, get rid of it, and it's
I'm
great.
just
I can't wait for it to go into effect.
Yes. So, random question for you ladies. Are we going to be doing a viewing party tonight or no?
Oh, I don't
Isn't that-
know.
I think we do.
I thought there was a viewing party like every week, but
It is. Don't like the recap of the episode before, which actually needs to start like now.
No.
yeah.
Yeah, because the last episode was 80
Before.
minutes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right? Oh,
So it needs to start tonight.
all right. Time to go. Let's
All right,
watch
keep it
everything.
close. I love you guys.
Everyone talk, guys.
Keep it
We have priorities here.
close. All right, Cookout raid. Who are you raiding?
We do. Who's going?